Peace and love. Peace and love. Shabbat shalom. We're going to be reading from the book of Matthew, going over the Shabbat Torah teachings of the teacher, Yahushua HaMashiach, his teachings, his lessons, his examples, his demonstrations, and hopefully we can cover his prophecies as well, if we have the time, his instructions, his commands to his students, and his prophecies he left as well. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, the teachings of the teacher, Yahushua HaMashiach, the Messiah. The book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 1. But when he saw the crowds, he went up on a mountain. And when he was seated, his taught ones, his students, his disciples, came to him. Verse 2, and having opened his mouth, he was teaching them, saying, so this is what he was teaching, this is what he was saying. He's going to continue this teaching and continue saying, where it starts in chapter 5 of Matthew, verse 2, he's going to continue teaching and continue saying these teachings from here all the way to chapter 7, where we're going, chapter 7, verse 28. And we're going to see that. We're going to cover that. And having opened his mouth, he was teaching them, saying, verse 3, blessed are the poor in spirit, because theirs is the reign of the heavens. Theirs is the kingdom of the heavens. So blessed is the poor in spirit. The poor in spirit is the humble, because theirs is the kingdom of the heavens. So, yeah, blessed are those who humble themselves, because theirs is the kingdom of the heavens. Verse 4, blessed are those who mourn, because they shall be comforted. So blessed are those who mourn, meaning mourn for others. Those who have empathy for others, because they shall be comforted. So blessed are those who have empathy, who mourn for others, not just themselves, not just their families, not just, but strangers as well. Those who have empathy and mourn for others. Blessed are you, because you shall be comforted. Those, when it's time for you to be comforted, you will be comforted because you comforted others. Verse 5, blessed are the meek, because they shall inherit the earth. So blessed are the meek, blessed are the friendly, blessed are those who are approachable, can be spoke to, those who are easygoing, those who, it says blessed. Blessed are those who are friendly, because they shall inherit the earth. These are the folks who will inherit the earth. You can't have unfriendly people inheriting the earth. So when the kingdom come, in the day of Yah, there will be friendly people. There won't be unfriendly people. Can't have unfriendly people that got attitudes and they jealous and envy and they want to lash out and they bickering and biting, backbiting and slandering and making fun of people. That's not what's going to be like. So blessed are the meek, the friendly, the approachable, because they shall inherit the earth. Verse 6, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness' sake, because they shall be filled. So when you hunger and thirst for righteousness' sake, that means you are eager to, be obedient. Righteousness is when you hunger and thirst for righteousness, not seek, for righteousness. When you hunger and thirst for righteousness, that means you hunger and thirst to be obedient, to obey the instructions of God, to follow the instructions of God, to obey the spiritual government of God, the spiritual laws of God. That's what this means. Always equal righteousness to obedience. So blessed are those who hunger, basically take initiative to be obedient, who hunger and thirst for righteousness, because they shall be filled. They shall be filled. Verse 7, blessed are the compassionate, because they shall obtain compassion. So before I move into that and explain that, let me finish explaining how, the obedient should be filled, meaning when you're obedient, you should be filled with all that you desire that's good for you. You should be provided with all that you could possibly need that's good for you, not what's good for your flesh, but good for your spirit. You should be filled. So let's move on to 7. Blessed are the compassionate, because they shall obtain compassion. So when you're compassionate, you have empathy for others, other than your friends and family. You compassionate towards others other than your friends and family. So blessed are the compassionate, because they shall obtain compassion. When you demonstrate compassion, compassion will be demonstrated to you. Verse 8, blessed are the clean in heart, because they shall see Elohim, they shall see God. So the clean in heart are those who demonstrate all the above, all that we listed, all that we just went through, starting with having being poor in spirit, meaning being humbling yourself, mourning for others, having empathy for others. This is what makes up a clean heart. Mourning for others, having empathy for others, being humble, being poor in spirit. This is what makes up a clean heart and give you access to see God for who in everything and hear God in everything. Being meek, being friendly, being approachable. This is what makes up a clean heart and give you access to seeing God in everything and hearing God in everything. Being obedient, taking an initiative to be obedient. Not being forced to be obedient, but taking an initiative, making a conscious decision to obey, to follow his instructions. This is what makes up a clean heart. When you hunger and thirst for righteousness, when you hunger and thirst to be obedient, this is what makes up a clean heart and give you access to see God in everything. Blessed are the compassionate. When you're compassionate, this is what makes up a clean heart. When you're compassionate and you have mercy on others, you have compassion on others, this is what makes up a clean heart and give you access to see God in everything. So blessed are the clean in heart, because they shall see Elohim. They shall see God. The clean in heart is all the above, those who demonstrate all the above. And when I say clean in heart, that's clean in your spiritual heart. You can't possibly be clean in your earthly, your flesh heart. Your flesh heart is wicked. Our flesh heart is wicked, man. Ain't no clean in our fleshly heart. It been through too much. It's been corrupt from birth. It was born into wickedness. It's born into the ancient knowledge of evil. It's the spirit. It's our spirit heart that can be clean, that is able to see the spirit God. When you're clean in your spirit heart, you're able to see the supreme spirit God in everything. And I can't explain it to the fleshly ears and that's listening. But if you know, you know. Verse 9, blessed are the peacemakers, because they shall be called sons of Elohim, meaning children of God, spiritual children of God. So blessed are the peacemakers, So when you make peace with others, you make peace with people you need to make peace with. If you make peace amongst others, not strangers, people you know, we're to mind our business unless it's children. We can make peace between you, but you don't want to get involved in other people's squirrels that you don't know. Now, if it's some people that you do know, make peace amongst those people. Make peace between those people. Make peace between those people. You know what I mean? And you'll be known as a child of God. You'll be known as a spiritual child of God when you make peace. You make peace and you want to see peace made. You don't want to see, when you don't want to see anyone arguing or see anyone fighting or trying to hurt each other, you're demonstrating yourself to be a spiritual child of God. And this is the goal of us all, to become spiritual child of God. And this is the key to getting into the kingdom. This is what he's teaching us. This is what the teacher is teaching us. These are his teachings. Blessed are the peacemakers, because they shall be called children of God. I mean, sons of God always equate that to children of God. Sons of Elohim equate that to children of God, spiritual children of God. Verse 10, blessed are those persecuted for righteousness' sake, because theirs is the kingdom, theirs is the reign of the heavens. So blessed are those persecuted for obedience' sake, for being obedient, for being obedient. So blessed are those persecuted for, that's what righteousness is to be obedient. So if you're persecuted for the sake of being obedient, obeying God, if you're persecuted for the sake of following his instructions, blessed are you, because theirs is the kingdom of the heavens. This is who will be in these are the ones who will be in the kingdom of heaven. Are those persecuted for being obedient to God, those who are persecuted for following the instructions of God. So blessed are those following the instructions of God and are persecuted for doing so. Persecuted for doing so. If it ain't for you, it ain't for you. If you want to, if you want to do the opposite of following the instructions of God, which is, doing what is wicked, doing what is evil, doing what is wrong, lying to people, you working your craft on people, stealing from people, hating people, envying people, jealous of people. If you want to do that, do that. You know what I mean? Do that and see how that work for you. But if it ain't for you, keep it moving. You don't have to persecute people for following the instructions of God. You don't have to persecute people for obeying the instructions of God. Like, if you feel like your own God, go do you. Go disappear. Go teleport. Go, you know what I mean? Go teleport into another realm and, be as wicked as you want to be. That's all. Do you. You don't want to follow instructions, do you? It just ain't for you. So blessed are those persecuted for righteousness' sake. So when you're persecuted for righteousness' sake, meaning being obedient and following his instructions, which is only basically treating others how you want to be treated, that's all it is. But if you don't want to treat others how you want to be treated, then clearly you're a wicked, individual. If that's not for you, then this ain't for you. Because theirs is the kingdom of the heavens. Verse 11, blessed are you when they reproach and persecute you and falsely say every wicked word against you for my sake. So blessed are you when they reproach, basically, and persecute you and falsely say every wicked word against you for his sake, for the sake of what he teaches you, for the sake of what he's teaching us. Not just for the sake of you just doing you and you just being you who you are. No, for the sake of what he's teaching us in these teachings. If you're humble, poor in spirit, if you're mourning for others and having empathy, if you're friendly and approachable, for the sake of you being obedient and compassionate and a peacemaker, if you're persecuted, if they're falsely saying all wicked words against you for this sake and following his instructions and instructions of the Most High, then blessed are you. Blessed are you for them making up all this, nonsense about you for his sake, for simply just being a person that, treat others how they want to be treated. Rejoice and be glad. Rejoice and be glad because your reward in the heavens is great. For in this way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. In this way meaning being poor in spirit, humble, mourning for others, having empathy, being meek, friendly, compassionate, obedient, righteous, clean in heart, peacemakers. In this way, they persecuted the prophets before you. So the prophets before us was on this. The prophets before us was on the same way of the Messiah. The same way the prophets of old who were following the instructions of God were on the same thing that the Son of God is, the Messiah is on. And what he's taught, what he's teaching, and what he taught, and what he demonstrated, and what he left as an example. They was on that. So there's no separation. Everyone is on the same accord. Everyone was on the same channel. Everyone who's a child, a spiritual child of God, is on the same spiritual, on the same spirit, basically the spiritual channel, same spiritual page, spiritual accord of God. The same thing is on the same thing from what we know as the Old Testament to the New Testament. This is a clear indication that those of old was on what those of new was on. It says rejoice and be glad. This is what the Messiah is saying. This is the book of Matthew, by the way, chapter 5, verse 12. He's saying, it says, rejoice and be glad because your reward in the heavens is great. For in this way they persecuted the prophets who were before you, like before us all. Verse 13, you are the salt of the earth. But if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall it be seasoned? For it is no longer of any use but to be thrown out and to be trodden down by men. So you are no longer of any use if you're not poor in spirit, if you're not humble. You don't humble yourself and acknowledge yourself as just a mere man. Acknowledge yourself as a mere man, flesh and blood that can be smeared at any moment. That can be smeared at any moment. Smeared by the Almighty. You're just made up of flesh. You have a spirit within it thanks to the breath of God that we inhale and exhale. But outside of that, you're a mere flesh. And if you don't acknowledge that, you're not of any use. You're no longer of any use. You're no longer of any use if you're not humble, poor in spirit. You're no longer of any use if you don't mourn and have empathy for others. You're no longer of any use if you're not meek, friendly, approachable. You're no longer of any use if you're not righteous and obedient, meaning obedient, obeying the instructions of God or following his instructions. You're no longer of any use if you're not compassionate. You're no longer of any use if you're not a peacemaker. You're no longer of any use if you're not any of these things. You're no longer of any use of his. You're supposed to be the salt of the earth. But if the salt becomes tasteless, the only way for it to have some taste is to be poor in spirit, to be humble. The only way for you to have some taste is to mourn and have empathy for others. Only way for you to have some taste is be friendly and approachable. Only way for you to have some taste is to be obedient, follow his instructions. The only way for you to have some taste is to be compassionate, to be a peacemaker. That's the only way for you to have some taste. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall it be seasoned? For it is no longer of any use, but to be thrown out and be trodden down by men. So like the same salt that's thrown out and trodden down, like thrown out when the snow comes, when it snows, the same salt, you'll be treated like that salt. The same salt that's thrown out when it snows and trodden down by cars and boots. That's the salt you will become. Verse 14, you are the light of the world. It is impossible for a city to be hidden on a mountain. Verse 15, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it shines to all those in the house. So this is what you should be shining. Your shine should be shining to all those in the world, all those who, come encounter with you. What is that light? Let's find out. Verse 16, let your light so shine before men so that they see your good works, and praise your Father who is in the heavens. So he becomes your father when you're doing the works. He's not your father if you're not doing the work. You can't claim him to be your father because he's a supreme spirit. You can't claim a supreme spirit to be your father if you're not tapping into the breath of life spirit within you, the spiritual child of God within you, and following this supreme spirit's instructions, obeying this supreme spirit's laws and his spiritual government, his spiritual laws. This is your work. This is your good work. This is your light. Your light is being poor in spirit, humble. Your light is mourning for others, empathy for others. Your light is being meek, friendly, approachable towards others. Your light is hungering and thirsting to be righteous, meaning to be obedient, to follow his instructions, to obey his spiritual law and his spiritual government. That's your light. Your light is to be compassionate. Your light is to be peacemakers. This is your light. This is your light. Let your light so shine before all men, all mankind, so that they see your good works, because not only this is your light, but this is your good works. These are your works. And this is the work, this is the work of the righteous. You have workers of wickedness and you have workers of righteousness. You have workers of wickedness for the ancient knowledge of evil, and you got workers of righteousness for the ancient knowledge of good. You have workers of wickedness for the ancient knowledge of evil, in the enemy, and you got workers of righteousness for the ancient knowledge of good of God, of the Most High. It's just that simple. Who are you working for? Whose work are you doing? You may hear people say, oh, you're not this by works. You're not saved by works. You're not this by works. You're not, Well, what are you doing if you're not working? If you're not working the harvest? What are you doing if you're not doing good works? What are you doing if you're not letting your light shine? Verse 17, do not think that I came to destroy the Torah or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to complete. So do not think that I came to destroy the instructions of God or the prophecies of the prophets of God. I did not come to destroy, but to complete. This is what this is saying. Do not think that I came to destroy the instructions of God, because that's what Torah means. Torah means instruction. Instructions of God, to be specific. Do not think that I came to destroy the instructions of God or the prophets. The prophets mean the prophecies. So the prophecies of the prophets of God. So he says, so what he's ultimately saying in this verse in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 17, do not think that I came to destroy. Don't even think. Don't even think it. And you have a lot of people doing more than thinking it. They believe it. Most people who claim to be believers, they not only thinking it, they're believing that he came to destroy. He came and destroyed the instructions of God. They believing that he came and destroyed the prophecies of the prophets of God. They're believing this, let alone thinking it. But he's saying this, the Messiah is saying, don't even think it. Don't even think it. Do not think that I came to destroy the instructions of God or the prophecies of the prophets of God. I did not come to destroy, but to complete, meaning fulfill, meaning to demonstrate it, to carry them out, to leave it as an example, and to also fulfill these prophecies, to demonstrate following his instructions, the instructions, which is the Torah, and to fulfill the prophecies of the prophets of God. This is what he came to do. This is all he came to do. Verse 18, for truly I say to you, till the heaven, meaning the sky, and the earth pass away, one yod or one title shall by no means pass from the Torah till all be done. So what this is saying is, for truly I say to you, till the sky and the earth pass away, one yod or one title, meaning not one word, shall by no means pass from the instructions of God till all be done, till all prophecies is fulfilled. All prophecies aren't fulfilled. So until all prophecies are fulfilled, the instructions of God is still required. The instructions of God is still asked of you to be followed. This is what this is saying. This is what the Messiah is teaching us. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 18. Now we're in 19. Whoever then breaks one of the least of these commands and teaches men so shall be called least in the kingdom of the heavens. But whoever does and teaches them he shall be called great in the kingdom of the heavens. So the more I read this, the more I learn. And this is where I'm at. What he's saying is, whomever then breaks one of the least of these commands that he's given, but teaches men so. So if you find yourself not being poor in spirit, but you're teaching that you should be poor in spirit, you're teaching that you should be humble. If you found yourself now or in the past not mourning for others, but you're teaching that you should mourn for others, that you yourself should be mourning for others, you yourself should be having empathy for others. If you're teaching all of this, but you're finding yourself, if you found yourself not meeting the mark in the past or in the present, but you know that you should be, and you teaching that you should be, and you teaching others that they should be, you would be known as the least in the kingdom. But at least you're in the kingdom. But whoever does these teachings, does these commands, these instructions of the Mashiach, the Messiah, and also teaches them, they'll be called great in the kingdom of the heavens. And they will earn every right to be called that. They will earn every right to be called that because they've gone their lives being humble. They're going all their lives being humble, poor in spirit, mourning for others, having empathy, meek, friendly, obedient, compassionate, peacemakers. They've gone their whole life doing this. And it's rare to do that. It's rare to do that. I'm not saying that no one's out there have done it or no one in history has done it, but it's rare to do that and also teach it. Not just do it, but also teach it. And if you're able to do it and also teach it, then you will be known as the great. You'll be known as great in the kingdom of heaven. Verse 20, for I say to you that unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you shall by no means enter into the kingdom of the heavens, into the reign of the heavens. Unless, he says, for I say to you, this is what the Messiah is saying. This is what the Messiah is saying. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, by the way, verse 20. For I say to you, this is what the Messiah is saying, that unless your righteousness, meaning your obedience, meaning you following his instructions, meaning you obeying the supreme government, the spiritual government, the spiritual laws of God. This is what righteousness is. Unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you shall by no means enter into the kingdom of heavens. He didn't say maybe, no, he said you should by no means if you don't follow these teachings, if you don't follow these examples, if you don't follow these demonstrations that the Messiah is providing, that the Messiah is teaching us, that he has taught us, that we should be teaching ourselves and teaching others. And we're going to continue learning this. We're going to continue reading them. We're going to continue going over them every week until we get it, until we get better and better and better. For I say to you, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 20. This is what the Messiah is saying to you. For I say to you that unless your righteousness, meaning your obedience, exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you shall by no means enter into the kingdom of the heavens. So what does this require? We already covered some of it. This requires being poor in spirit, humble. This requires mourning for others, having empathy for others. This requires being meek, friendly, approachable. This requires obedience, hungering to be obedient. This requires compassion, being compassionate. This requires being a peacemaker. This requires all of that and more, where we're about to get into. He's about to explain more. In order to get our righteousness to exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees in order to enter into the kingdom. Verse 21, you heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders shall be liable to judgment. Yes, we heard this. The Pharisees and the scribes heard this. They obey this, and we should continue to obey this. But this is what he says to get our righteousness to exceed the scribes and the Pharisees and in order to enter into the kingdom. This is what the Messiah says. But I say to you that whoever is rough, meaning angry with his brother or sister without a cause, like just no reason to be angry with him, no reason whatsoever, without a cause, if you're angry or you're rough with your brother or sister without a cause, shall be liable to judgment. And whoever says his brother Raka, this is what the scribes and the Pharisees would avoid calling each other, Raka, shall be liable to the Sanhedrin. Yeah, you heard that. But this is what the Messiah says. But whoever says you fool shall be liable to the fire of Gehenna. So whoever says you fool, meaning anything outside of the name of this spiritual child of God. If you call it anyone outside of their name coming from a wicked, ill place, you're calling anyone outside of their name from a wicked, ill place in your heart, you should be liable to the fire. This is what the Messiah is saying. Verse 23, if then you bring your gift to the slaughter place, and there remember that your brother holds whatever against you. Verse 24, leave your gift there before the slaughter place and go. First make peace with your brother or sister, and then come and offer your gift. So he's saying if you find yourself in a place of worship, in a place of gathering, in a place of assembling, in a place of congregating, if you find yourself with other brothers and sisters, but you remember that your one brother or your one sister was there with you, and you have a thing, y'all have an issue amongst each other that y'all need to squash. If you then remember that, he's saying stop everything that you doing around your brothers and sisters and go make peace with that brother. Whether you have to text them, call them, it's better to even just pull up. But go make peace with them and then go gather with your other brothers and sisters. Go make peace with them and then go congregate with your other brothers and sisters. Go make peace with them and then go assemble with your other brothers and sisters. Go make peace with your one brother or sister that you got a quarrel with, and then go gather in a place of worship with your other brothers and sisters. Verse 25, be well-minded with your opponent promptly while you are on the way with him, lest your opponent deliver you to the judge and the judge to the officer, and you be thrown into prison. Verse 26, truly I say to you, you shall by no means get out of there till you have paid the last penny. What does he mean by paid the last penny? Pay your brother or your sister, man. Pay your brother or your sister whatever it is that you owe to them. before they have to take matters in their own hand, before they have to call the authorities and sue you. Pay your brother and your sister. This is what the Messiah is saying. They shouldn't have to look to take matters in their own hand and try to get their money back from you. They shouldn't have to do all that. Go pay your brother or your sister whatever you owe that person. This is what the Messiah is telling you. Whatever you owe your brother or your sister, go get them paid, or try to get them paid, or explain to them how you have a plan to get them paid. Pay them what you owe. Because it's going to lead to them wanting to take matters in their own hand about getting their money back, or suing you to get their money back. That's just how we're wired. And even the Messiah is telling you, like, yo, you got to handle that. You got to handle that. That's the quickest way to have your brother or your sister, resent you. And you don't want your brother and your sister to resent you. That's the quickest way to resentment. Someone resenting you, like not wanting to be around you. So get them paid. Verse 27, you heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery. So yeah, we heard this. The Pharisees and the scribes, they heard this. They obey this. We should continue this. But this is what the Messiah is saying, to get our righteousness to exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees in order for us to enter into the kingdom. This is what the Messiah is saying. But I say to you that everyone looking at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So everyone looking at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery in his heart, like in his imagination. They already committed it in their imagination. When you sitting lusting and you lusting a woman that belongs to another man, or you're lusting a woman when you have a woman yourself, when you belong to another woman, meaning you're engaged to another woman, or that woman is engaged to another man, and you're sitting lusting in your imagination. This is you committing an adultery in your imagination. You're imagining being with this woman, and you don't have, like, or if she's not married and you're not married, and you just imagining being with her, and you have no intentions on being engaged to her. This is lust in your imagination. You're committing adultery in your imagination. And that's your imagination is your heart. So this is committed. This is adultery committed in your imagination, in your heart, in your head. When you're lusting someone that you have no intentions on being engaged to, someone who is engaged already to someone, or you're engaged to someone. This is what the Messiah is saying, to take it a step further. Verse 29, and if your right eye causes you to stumble, pluck it out and throw it away from you. For it is better for you that one of your members perish than for your entire body to be thrown into the Gehenna. So what this is saying is, like, yo, this is not the Messiah wanting you to do harm to your temple, to your body. This is not that. He wouldn't want that, because if you were to try to do something to your eye, you would likely harm yourself and bleed out. He's talking about your spiritual eye. Your spiritual eye. And if you're watching something that causes you to stumble, you have to stop watching that. And whatever you have to do to stop watching, if you got to pluck out that program, if you got to pluck out that app, if you got to pluck out that website, if you got to pluck that movie out, that show out, if you got to pluck that out of your vision or out of your life or out of your access, you have to do so. If it's causing you to stumble, if it's causing you to sin, if it's causing you to be, to be unclean, you got to pluck that out. You got to pluck it out. Pluck out the program, pluck out the app, pluck out the website, pluck out the movie, the show, whatever it is that's causing you to sin, that's causing you to stumble, that's tempting you. My case, I can't watch Triple X. That's what makes me stumble. That's the only thing that makes me stumble. So I can't watch Triple X because that's I gotta pluck that out, and I won't have no issue with them doing away with it completely. I won't have no issue with it because that's what most of us need, most men need, is for Triple X to be plucked out of our lives, to be plucked out of our eyes, so that we're not able to see it. We don't have access to it anymore. And this is the only thing that causes most men to stumble. I'm speaking for myself. This is what causes me to stumble, is Triple X. So I pluck out whatever app, I pluck out whatever website, I pluck out whatever program there is that has that. I'm not talking about movies that, that's clearly nothing. I'm talking about real Triple X, like real intercourse. Like that's what causes me to stumble, watching that. So that's what causes most men to stumble. I can watch a mere movie and know that there's nothing real going on, and that's not going to cause me to stumble. That's not going to cause me to sin. It's not going to do it for me. What caused me to sin, what caused me to stumble, is real Triple X. And that's what caused most men to stumble. We got to pluck it out. Verse 30, and if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away from you. For it is better for you that one of your members perish than for your entire body to be thrown into Gehenna. So what this is saying, is that he's not telling us to do any harm to our member or to our body. He's not telling us to do that. Because if we were to do harm to our right hand, it would clearly lead to us bleeding out. And he doesn't want that. What he's saying is your spiritual hand, your right hand. I don't know if you. So when he speaks in parables, and when what is known as a parable, what is well known even to this day, is like your best friend is your right hand man or your right hand woman or whatever. So your right hand man. So if your right hand man is causing you to stumble, this is what he's referring to. And I know that he's referring to that because he says in the later chapters, like, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. Meaning don't let nobody know what you've done, like as far as your deeds, your good deeds. Keep your good deeds in secret. So this is how I know that he's referring to a person and not your own hand, your actual hand. Praise Yah, praise for that, for revealing that. He's not talking about your hand, your actual hand. He's talking about your right hand man. If your right hand man or your right hand woman is causing you to stumble, and they're tempting you to stumble, they're tempting you to sin, and they're trying to peer pressure you into sinning and stumbling and doing what is unclean, doing what is wicked, doing what is evil, doing what is illegal, doing what is unrighteous. If your right hand man or woman is seducing you to do that, you got to cut them off. That's who you cut off. Cut off your right hand man or woman. who is causing and seducing you to stumble, seducing you to sin, seducing you to be unclean and do wicked things. Cut them off and throw them away. For it is better for you that one of your members, one of the members of the body of the Mashiach, perish than for your entire body to be thrown into the Gehenna. If you know, you know. Verse 31. And it has been said, whoever puts away his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. We know this. The Pharisees and the scribes know this. And we should continue. But this is what the Messiah, this is the details the Messiah comes and adds in order to get our righteousness to exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees and enter the kingdom of the heavens. This is what he says, but I say to you that whoever puts away his wife except for the matter of whoring, makes her commit adultery, and whoever marries a woman who has been put away commits adultery. So what he's saying is like, yo, you can't just be putting your wife away just for anything. You can't put your wife away just because you're not attracted to her anymore. You can't put your wife away just because y'all don't get along anymore. You can't put your wife away for any old reason, except the only reason to put your wife away is if she has slept with another man. That's the only way you can put your wife away is if she has slept with another man. You can't put your wife away if she hasn't slept with another man. Can't put your wife away for if you're not attracted to her and you're attracted to another woman. You can't put your wife away for no reason other than her sleeping with another man. No other reason, no other exception. That's the only exception, is if she slept with another man. You can't divorce your wife. You can't divorce your wife unless she slept with another man. That's the only exception. This is what the Messiah said, not what I said. This is what the Messiah said. Because if you put her away, it's going to lead to her needing to be ruled by another Adam, by another man. It's going to lead to her finding another man and she's eventually sleeping with another man. You're going to make her commit adultery. You're going to make her commit adultery if you put her away, if you divorce her for not committing adultery, which is sleeping with another man. If she hasn't slept with another man and you put her away and you divorce her, you're going to force her to commit adultery. You're going to force her to sleep with another man. And whoever marries a woman who has been put away commits adultery. And you're going to lead to whoever she sleeps with to commit adultery. You're going to lead whoever she marries to commit adultery because you never should have put her away. You never should have divorced her. Verse 33. Again, you heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oaths to Yahuwah. We heard this. The scribes and the Pharisees heard this. And we should continue to honor our oaths, not swear falsely. But the Messiah, this is what he added. This is what he says. But I say to you, do not swear at all. Do not swear at all, neither by the heaven, because it is Elohim's throne. It is God's throne. Nor by the earth, for it is his footstool. Nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great kings. Nor swear by your head, because you are not able to make one hair white or black. But let your word yes be yes, and your no be no. And what goes beyond these is from the wicked one. So don't swear by anything. Don't swear on anything. Don't swear by anything. Don't be swearing on the dead, swearing on your parents, swearing on nothing. Don't swear on nothing or nobody. Let your yes be yes, simply no. Yay or nay. Anything beyond this, it says, and what goes beyond these is from the wicked one. So when you start finessing and explaining and having, to explain and this is what from the wicked one. Just simply say yes or simply say no. Verse 38. You heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. We heard this. The scribes and the Pharisees heard this, and this is what they're all about. Even the modern day scribes and Pharisees. This is what most people are all about. Getting an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Getting their get back. Getting revenge. But this is what the Messiah says. But I say to you, do not resist the wicked. Do not resist the wicked. And we're going to explain what that is. Do not resist the wicked, but whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also. So, but I say to you, do not resist the wicked, meaning don't run from this person that's about to slap you. Don't run. Don't do no running. This is what he means by don't resist the wicked. Don't do no running. Don't do no running away. That's cowardly. And the cowardly doesn't make it into the kingdom. Don't do no running. It says instead, but whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also. In the sense of how you may see in the movies of the villain slapping, the hero. And the hero is like, is that all you got? With his chin up, like his or her chin up, like, is that all you got? This is how we are to approach those who slap. But me personally, I don't want to be slapped. I don't trust my flesh, and I'm still working on myself. So in order for me to avoid being slapped, I don't go around people who slap people. I don't go in places where people are who slap people. And if I see any sense of anybody, a potential person who slaps somebody, I get out of that person's area. I remove myself from that building or place that person is in. I'm not running from the wicked. I'm avoiding the person and the place. I'm avoiding the person and the place. I gotta use my discernment. Now, if I'm in the heat of then I can't run. If I'm in the midst of it, in the heat of it, I can't run. I just gotta put up with it. And I bought that. Because I put myself in that situation. I put myself in that situation. And you put yourself in that situation if you put yourself in a place where people go and they known to be people who slap other people. These bars, these clubs, these traps, these street corners, these blocks where criminal activity goes on. This is where people get slapped. Prison. This is where people get slapped. So if you find yourself, in these places, and you find and another thing, the quickest way to find yourself getting slapped is when you talk about people, when you make up stuff about people, when you make up stories about people. When you make up stories about people and you talk about people behind their back and you lying to people when you lying about people, this is the quickest way to get you slapped. That's the quickest way to get you slapped. When you talking about people and you making up stories about people. So if you ain't looking for that, then you can't find yourself turning the other cheek. Don't put yourself around people who slap people. Don't go in these places where people get slapped. Don't talk about these people who slap people. Don't make up stories about these people who slap people. Don't slander these people. And you don't got to worry about getting slapped. But this is where he's trying to teach us how to tap into our spirit, the spiritual child within us. Because it's the flesh that wants to get tooth for an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But it's the spiritual child of God that is able to turn the other cheek. This is where he's trying to get who's who. This is where he finds out who's who. If you're a child of the flesh who wants to get tooth for a tooth and an eye for an eye and slap somebody back, or if you're the spiritual child of God who will turn the other cheek. Here's another example. And he who wishes to sue you and take away your inner garment, let him have your outer garment as well. So if someone is looking to sue you or take something from you that took something from you already, let them have it. Oh, you want this too? You took my shirt. You could take this other shirt too. You stole my shirt. You didn't give that back. You can take this as well. This is what separates the child of the flesh from the spiritual child of God. Because the child of the flesh that's worried about their possessions, about their belongings, about their material things. So they're not, if you took something from them, you can't have nothing else from them. But the spiritual child of God is not concerned with the matters of the flesh. It's not concerned with the material of the flesh. It's concerned with the matters of the spirit. So the spiritual child of God is like, yeah, you can take that. It don't do me no good. You can take this too. You can have that, and you can take this with you. This is what he needs to see. He needs to see who's concerned with the flesh and what's made for the flesh and made by the flesh, and who's not concerned with the flesh and what's made for the flesh and made by the flesh. Here's another example. And whoever compels you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. So most people in the flesh don't want to go anywhere for somebody, don't want to do anything, no favors for nobody. If someone asks them, they'll make up a story, make up a reason how to get out of it and not to do it. This is what most children of the flesh do. This is what each of our flesh do. We find a way to get out of what it is that someone asking us to do. But on the other hand, the spiritual child of God is like, yo, what else you need me to do? Is there anything else I can do for you? Where else do you need me to go? Is there anywhere else that you need me to go? This is what the spiritual child of God is. This is what the Messiah needs to see. He needs to see who's the spirit. He needs to see who's the child of the flesh who doesn't want to do anything or go anywhere for anybody. Or he needs to see who's the spiritual child of God who will ask, what else do you need me to do? And where else do you need me to go? This is what he needs to see, and this is what he needs to know. Here's another example. Verse 42. Give to him who asks of you, and from him who wishes to borrow from you, do not turn away. Most children of the flesh don't want to let anyone borrow anything. They're going to make up a story like, yo, I ain't got it. Well, I might have it later, or I might have it tomorrow. Turning people away. This is what most children of the flesh are saying to people who ask him to borrow. But on the other hand, spiritual children of God, take this. This all I got on me. Or yeah, I got you. Yeah, don't worry about. If you're gonna pay, you say you're gonna pay me back. Cool. You know what I mean? They don't even get into that. This is what the spiritual child of God is doing. They're not concerned with this money. They're not concerned with this material. They're not concerned with these belongings. They're not concerned with the concerns of the flesh. What's made for the flesh, made by the flesh. They're not concerned with that. The spiritual child of God will let you borrow. This is what separates the spiritual child of God from this child of the flesh, from the children of the flesh. Here's another example. Verse 43. You heard that it was said, you should love your neighbor and hate your enemies. We heard this. The scribes and the Pharisees heard this. But this is what the Messiah says in order to get our righteousness to exceed the scribes and the Pharisees and enter into the kingdom of God. This is what the Messiah says. But I say to you, love your enemies. Bless those cursing you. Do good to those hating you, and pray for those insulting you and persecuting you. Why is this? Why is he saying this? So that you become sons of your Father, meaning children of your Father, meaning spiritual children of your Father in the heavens. This is why. This is all it leads up. This is all his teachings leads up to. Starting when he told us to be peacemakers in the beginning of this chapter. Chapter 5, verse 9 of Matthew. Blessed are the peacemakers because they shall be called sons of Elohim, meaning children of God, spiritual children of God. And this is where it leads to. This is all his teachings going to lead up to. But I say to you, love your enemies. That's being a peacemaker. Bless those cursing you. That's being a peacemaker. Do good to those hating you. That's being a peacemaker. And pray for those insulting you and persecuting you. That's being a peacemaker. Why? So that you become sons of your Father in the heavens, spiritual children of your Father in the heavens, spiritual children of God. This is why. Because he makes his sun rise on the wicked and on the good, and sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous. So this is clear. This is a clear indication that the Messiah and the Most High needs to see who's who. He needs to see who's the children of the flesh, who's the children of the enemy, who's the children of the world, who's the children of unrighteousness, who's the children of wickedness. And he needs to see who's the spiritual children of his, spiritual children of God, spiritual children of righteousness, spiritual children of what is good. He makes his sun shine on both. He makes his sun rise on both. So he needs to see who's who. He needs to see who's this or who's that. This is a clear indication that he needs to. This is a clear indication that this requires you separating yourself. Separating yourself as a spiritual child of God from the children of the flesh. Separate yourself as a spiritual child of God from the children of the world, concerned with the world. Separate yourself as a spiritual child of God from the children of the enemy. This is a clear indication that he needs to see you make separation. Show yourself different. Show yourself to be different. Because the children of the flesh, they only love their neighbor. And they hate their enemy. That's the children of the flesh. That's the children of the world. That's the children of the enemy. They love their neighbor and love those who love them, but they hate their enemies. But on the other hand, the spiritual children of God, they love their enemies. This is the only It's the spirit within us is the only one capable of loving our enemies. It's the spirit within us is the only one capable of blessing those cursing us. It's the spirit within us is the only one capable of doing good to those hating us. It's the spirit within us is the only one capable of praying for those insulting us and persecuting us. It's the spirit within us. Not our flesh. Our flesh wants to hate our enemy. Our flesh wants to hate those who hate us. Our flesh wants nothing to do with nobody that wants nothing to do with us. Verse 46, for if you love those loving you, what reward have you? Are the tax collectors not doing the same too? So it's the flesh that loves those who love them. And what good is that? The tax collectors does the same. What good is that when the tax collector is doing this? What good is that when the sinner is doing this? What good is that when the wicked and the evil one is doing this? They love those who love them. What makes you different from them? What makes you different is when you love those who just, not only those who love you, but love those who don't love you. That's what makes you a spiritual child of God. Verse 47, and if you greet your brothers only, what do you do more than others? Are the tax collectors not doing so too? So if you greet your brothers only, it's the flesh that only greets their brother. It's the flesh that greets their brothers only. It's the children of the flesh, children of the world, children of the enemy that just greet their brothers only. It's the spiritual child of God. It's the spiritual children of God who greet not only their brothers and sisters, but people who are their brothers and sisters. People who are their brothers and sisters. Verse 48, therefore be perfect as your Father in the heavens is perfect. The flesh is incapable of being perfect. So he's not talking about you as the flesh, in your flesh. He's talking about that spirit within you, that spirit, that breath of life spirit within you, that spirit of God, that spiritual child of God within you. That's the only one capable of being perfect. That's the only one capable of this perfection, to be perfect as the supreme spirit Father in heaven is perfect. That was chapter 5. He's going to continue his teachings in chapter 6. Chapter 6, verse 1. Beware of doing your kind deeds before men in order to be seen by them. Otherwise, you have no reward from your Father in the heavens. So he's saying beware of doing your kind deeds, meaning your kind deeds is what you do for others, what you do for others in need. Beware of doing that to be seen by men. Beware of doing this to be seen by men. You're not beware of giving money, food, clothing to the poor to be seen by men. Beware of, getting your phone out and, recording this. Otherwise, you have no reward from your Father in heaven. You will get no reward from your Father in heaven. You will get no reward from God when you do this. For people to see. Verse 2, thus, when you do a kind deed. So when you do this is what he's telling you. When you do for those in need, when you do for the poor and the less fortunate, when you do for them. Thus, when you do a kind deed, do not sound the trumpet before you as the hypocrites do. Calling these people, so he's saying these people who do it to be seen by men, they're hypocrites. He's calling them hypocrites. Thus, when you do a kind deed, do not sound the trumpet before you as the hypocrites do, in the congregations, meaning in their places of worship, and in the streets to be praised by men. Truly I say to you, they have their reward. So he's saying, yo, don't be like these hypocrites who do their kind deeds, who look out for the poor and the sick and the hungry and the thirsty and the less fortunate and the homeless to be seen by men. They post it on their page and they record it on their phones or on their cameras, and they get news involved, and they let everybody know this is what they done. They donated this, and their charity to this and that and third. Like, don't be like these people. These are hypocrites. This is the definition of these are the Messiah's definition of hypocrites, not what we know as hypocrites. No, these are his definition of hypocrites. People who do their good deeds to be seen by men, to be seen by people. This is who he calls a hypocrite. When you doing things for the less fortunate to be seen by men, to be seen by people. He calls you a hypocrite. The Messiah calls you a hypocrite. And this will be your only reward, is the pleasing of people. That's the only reward you will receive for doing your good deeds to be seen by people. People pleasing. Verse 3, but when you do a kind deed, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Remember earlier when it spoke about, if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. This clearly is explaining the sense of that same verse in the sense of a person, like your right hand man. So don't let your right hand man or woman know what you're doing. But when you do a kind deed, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Don't let your right hand man know what you're doing, or your right hand woman, your left hand woman or man, or your right hand man or woman know what you have done. Don't let them know that you did this for the poor. Don't let them know what you did for the poor. Don't let them know what you did for the poor. Don't let them know what you did for the poor. Don't let them know what you did for the sick, the hungry, the thirsty. Don't let them know what you did for the less fortunate, the homeless. Don't let them know what you did for them. Don't let them know what you did for them. Keep that secret so that your father, and it says, so that your kind deeds shall be in secret, and your father who sees in secret shall himself reward you openly. Your father who sees in secret shall himself reward you openly. So this is an open reward, whereas though everyone who sees this reward would know that you've been blessed by the Most High. So this is what comes with you doing your kind deeds for those in secret, people in need, people who are, less fortunate in secret. You're doing for them in secret. You're giving them food in secret. You're giving them money in secret. You're giving them water in secret. You're giving them clothes in secret. You're not recording it. You're not asking it to be recorded. You're not asking for news to come report it. You're not asking to get it posted. You're not trying to post it on your page. You're not trying to let people know how much you donated, how much your charity did, and all that. You're not letting anybody know this. And this is how you get an open reward by the Most High himself, is by keeping that to yourself. Don't even tell your spouse. Don't even tell your children. Don't even tell your family. Don't tell your friends what you did. Now, you and your spouse should be one flesh, so it may be something y'all did together. But if it's something that you did on your own, don't even let them know what you did for the poor and the hungry and the thirsty and the sick and the prisoner and any of them people who are in less fortunate situations. Don't let nobody know nothing what you did for them, and see what happens. Watch the open reward. Watch the blessing that everyone witnessed. This will be a blessing that everyone would know is a blessing. This will be a reward from the Most High himself that everyone would know is clearly a reward. This is why he's saying an open reward. Whatever you do in secret, you will be blessed, rewarded openly. Meaning everyone would see this and know this. It's clear that you was blessed. Verse 5. And when you pray, you should not be like the hypocrites. Who are the hypocrites? Who is the Messiah calling hypocrites? He called this is here it is again. He called those who do their deeds to be seen by men. He called them hypocrites. Now who is he calling hypocrites now? And when you pray, you should not be like the hypocrites. Who are these hypocrites, Messiah? For they love to pray standing in the congregations, meaning these places of worship, and on the corners of the streets, to be seen by men. So this is his definition of his other definition of hypocrites. Those who want to be seen praying, standing in their congregation in these places of worship and on these corners of the streets, meaning like these are people who love praying in front of everybody. This is who the Messiah is calling hypocrites. Truly, I say to you, they have their reward. What is their reward? The people pleasing. Pleasing the people. People pleasing. Pleasing the people. They have their reward. They done please the people. They known as prayer warriors. This is what they were looking to be known as. Prayer warriors, right? That's what you wanted to be known as. You wanted to have that title, right? But the Messiah is calling you a hypocrite. For you love to pray standing in your worship, the place of worship. Standing, praying in front of everybody, on the corners of the streets, to be seen by men. To be seen. Truly I say to you, they have their reward. Verse 6, but you who claim to follow his instructions, you who claim to follow the Messiah's examples, you who claim to follow the Messiah's demonstrations, you who claim to follow the Messiah himself, you who claim to believe in the Messiah himself. But you, when you pray, go into your room and having shut your door, pray to your Father. Pray to your Father, not him. Pray to your Father who is in the secret place. And your Father, not him, your Father who sees in secret shall reward you openly. So this is another way to get rewarded openly. This is another way to get blessed openly. To where as though everyone know this was a blessing from the Most High. This was a reward from the Most High himself. Verse 7. And when praying, do not keep on babbling like the nations, for they think that they should be heard for their many words. So he's saying, yo, these people that's go on these long prayers and keep on babbling, and thinking they should be heard for their many words. He like, man, don't do that. Verse 8, it says, therefore, do not be like them. This is what he's telling us. This is what he's teaching us. This is what the Messiah himself is teaching us. Therefore, do not be like them. Do not be like those who pray going on and having, using many words. He's telling us not to do this. He's telling us not to be like them. For your Father knows what you need before you ask him. He knows what you need before you ask him. Verse 9. This then is the way you should pray. This then is the way you should pray. He's about to teach us how to pray. This is the book of Matthew, by the way, chapter 6, verse 9. This then is the way you should pray. Our Father, who is in the heavens, Let your name be set apart. Let your reign come, your kingdom come. Let your desire be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us of our debts as we forgive our debtors. And do not lead us into trial, but deliver us from the wicked one. Because yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. This is what he taught. This is how he taught us to pray. This is what and we should pray this to the Father. This is we shouldn't be going on these long prayers in front of everybody. Babbling in front of everybody, using many words to be heard in front of everybody. The Messiah called people like this hypocrites, and he says not to be like them. He says, therefore, do not be like them. Do not be like them. In verse 5, he said, you should not be like the hypocrites. Verse 14, for if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father shall also forgive you. Verse 15, but if you do not forgive men their trespasses, neither shall your Father forgive your trespasses. So you have to forgive in order to be forgiven. If you're not willing to forgive, don't expect to be forgiven. For if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father shall also forgive you. But if you do not forgive men their trespasses, neither shall your Father forgive your trespasses. Verse 16, and when you fast, do not be sad-faced like the hypocrites, for they disfigure and when you fast, do not be sad-faced like the hypocrites. So he's calling these people hypocrites. This is his other definition of a hypocrite. It's someone who fasts to be seen as fasting and known for fasting. And when you fast, do not be sad-faced like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces so that they appear to be fasting to men. Truly I say to you, they have their reward. Truly I say to you, they have their reward. So when you fast, do not be sad-faced like the hypocrites. He's calling people who want to look like they're fasting and let everybody know that they're fasting. He's calling them hypocrites. For they disfigure their faces so that they appear to be fasting to men. Truly I say that they have their reward, meaning they have the approval of the people. People pleasing. Verse 17, but you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face. When you fast, anoint your head and wash your face. Anoint your head, wash your face. Verse 18, so that you do not appear to men to be fasting. But to your Father who is in the secret place, and your Father who sees in secret shall reward you openly. Your Father who sees in secret shall reward you openly. So this is another way to be rewarded openly, is fasting in secret. This is another way to be rewarded openly, is to fast in secret. This is another way for you to receive a blessing openly, where everyone will see that you were clearly blessed by the people. Blessed by the Most High himself. The people will see that you were clearly blessed by the Most High himself and rewarded if you fast in secret and not tell anyone that you were fasting, not tell anybody about your fasting. Verse 19, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. Do not lay up for yourselves treasure on earth. This is what he's saying, man. This is what the Messiah is telling you. Why? Why is he saying this? Because when you saving money, like you saving up money what does it draw in? The moth. What does it draw in? Rust. What does it draw in? Thieves. It draws thieves to steal it. So this is why he's saying, yo, don't be looking to save up this. Don't be looking to save up money. Invest your money. Don't save money, invest the money. Don't save money, invest the money. Invest in the people. Invest in your family. Invest in the people. Invest in, more importantly, invest in the less fortunate. How do you do that? Invest in property. Invest in places to live. Invest in roofs over people's head. Invest in crops. Invest in farm animals. Invest in seeds to farm. Invest in businesses so people can take care of themselves. They can work to take care of themselves. This is what you invest in. He says, don't lay up treasures. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth. Do not save money on earth. Invest that money. Verse 20, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither the moth nor the rust destroys, and where the thieves do not break in and steal. How do you lay up treasures in the heavens? Doing your good deeds in secret. Doing for the less fortunate in secret, not telling anybody about it. Praying in secret, not telling everybody that you're praying and you're about to pray. Fasting in secret, not telling everybody that you're going on this fast. This is how you lay up treasures in the heavens. Is doing for the prisoner, the hungry, the thirsty, the widow, the fatherless, the homeless, the poor. Doing for them in secret. Not letting everybody know what you did for them in secret. This is how you lay up treasures in the heavens, where the moth nor the rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. If you saving all this money up on earth or laying all this treasure up on earth, you're gonna have people looking to steal from you. You're gonna have the people that you should be looking out for and you should be investing in, looking to steal that from you. But if you're laying up treasures in the heavens, then you're investing that money into the people, and the people, they won't be looking to steal from you. Because you investing in them. They know you to be a person who invests in them. They know you to be a person who invests in their better good, in taking care of them, in providing investing in what it is that they can have as shelter, or they can use to work and fend for themselves and their family. But if you're saving up all this money for yourself and you're not investing in the people with it, you're going to have the people looking to steal it, wanting to steal it, trying to figure out how to steal it. This is why you're not to lay up treasures in the earth. You have to invest in treasures. Don't lay up for yourself treasures. Invest for the people. Invest in the people with those treasures. Invest in the people with that money. Don't lay up for yourself all this money. Invest it. Keep investing. Keep investing. Investing is better than saving. Investing is investing in the people is better than saving. Verse 21, for where your treasures is, there your heart shall be also. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 21. For where your treasure is, there your heart shall be also. So basically, if your treasure is in having all the money to yourself, I'm saying if your heart is in having all the money to yourself and not investing in anybody, in anybody, this is where your heart is. Like, you're going to be more invested in your treasure and your savings and adding to your savings and keeping that savings and protecting that savings. That's where your heart is. That's where your priority will be, and that's where your heart will be. And that's not where the Most High needs you to be. That's where the children. That's where all children of the flesh heart will be. It's in their money, in their treasure. But the spiritual children of God, their heart will be in doing deeds in secret, doing for the less fortunate in secret with that money. How do we know this? Verse 22, the lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, all your body shall be enlightened. So if your eye is good, if you're seeing it this way, if you're seeing, if you're prioritizing, your priority is doing your deeds for the less fortunate in secret, which is the will of God, all your body shall be enlightened. Verse 23, but if your eye is evil, meaning you just focusing on and your priority is to save this money and keep this money to yourself, but if your eye is evil, all your body shall be darkened. If then the light that is within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? Verse 24, no one is able to serve two masters, for either he shall hate the one and love the other, or else he shall cleave to the one and despise the other. You are not able to serve Elohim and Mammon. You are not able to serve God and money. Serving God requires you to do for the people, for the less fortunate, in secret with your money, using that money to do for the less fortunate in secret. That's what serving God requires you to do with that money. That's what serving God requires you to do with that money. But on the other hand, serving money requires you to save this money, add to this money, protect that money, and don't use that money to do for nobody. That's what you serving money requires. That's what serving money requires. That's what worshiping money requires. Is you saving more and adding to it. It get larger and larger, and you be all googly eyed to your savings. You worshiping your savings. You're going to be focusing on that instead of focusing on investing into the people. Investing that money into the people. Investing that money into the people. Serving God is investing money into the people. Serving money is just saving money. You're continuously saving money. You're not investing in nobody. You're not investing in nobody but yourself. You're not investing in nobody but yourself, your family, and your friends. You're not concerned with strangers. You're not concerned with the less fortunate. Verse 25, because of this, I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you shall eat or drink, or about your body, what you shall put on. Is not life more than the food, and the body more than the clothing? So he's saying, because of this serving of mammon or serving of God, because of this understanding, because of all this, don't worry about your life, what you should eat or drink, or about your body, what you should put on. Is not life more than the food, the the body more than the clothing? Life is much more than this. This is all goes back to him. You either a child of the flesh concerned with food, water, and clothing the flesh, or you're concerned with, or you're a spiritual child of God and you're not concerned with that. You know you're going to have it. You know it's going to be there if you just follow the instructions of God. Life is more when you're following the instructions of God and you're following the will of God and you're making other lives better. You're making other people's lives better. You're investing in people, especially the less fortunate. This is what makes life worth more than the flesh and the clothes and what you put on the flesh. Verse 27, and which of you by worrying is able to add 1 cubit to his lifespan? No one is able to add 1 cubit to his lifespan. Not 1 day, not 1 year, not 1 hour. By worrying. Verse 28, so why do you worry about clothing? Note well the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. So the lilies of the field are the flowers of the field. They don't toil for their beauty, but yet they have beautiful petals. These flowers have beautiful petals, meaning, and these petals are their clothes. But they don't work for it. They don't toil nor spin. Verse 29, and I say to you that even Shalamoth, meaning Solomon, in all his esteem, all his glory, was not dressed like one of these. So even Solomon in all his glory was not dressed like, he couldn't outdress the flowers of the field. He couldn't outdress the flowers of the field, the lilies of the field. Verse 30, but if Elohim so clothe the grass of the field, which exists today and tomorrow is thrown into the furnace, how much more you, O you of little belief? How much more you, O you of little belief? Like if he puts clothes on the flowers, and they're going to be pulled up and thrown into the furnace the next, season or whatever. How, like, if he can clothe them and they clearly going to be pulled up and thrown away, how much more for you who is worthy, who is worth more? How much more for you, O you of little belief, worrying about clothes? He's going to clothe you. He's going to find something for you to wear. Verse 31, do not worry then, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? Do not worry saying any of this. Verse 32, for all these the nations seek for. All these the children of the flesh seeks for. All these the children of the world seeks for. All these the children of the enemy seeks for. The spiritual children of God it's not concerned with this. For all these the nations seek for, and your heavenly Father knows that you need all these. Your heavenly Father knows that you need water. He knows that you need food. He knows that you need clothes. If you're following his instructions, he's going to provide it. You're going to have it. Focus on his instructions. Focus on his will. This is what he's saying. But seek first, verse 33, but seek first the reign, meaning the kingdom of Elohim, the kingdom of God, and his righteousness, and all these shall be added to you. So when you seek first following his instructions, when you seek first obeying his spiritual law, when you seek first obeying his spiritual government, when you seek first those who obey his spiritual government, those who obey his spiritual law, those who follow his instruction, when you seek all this first, when you seek all these first, the rest shall be added to you. All these shall be added to you: your food, your water, your clothing, your shelter. He knows that you need this. He knows that you need this. Verse 34. Do not then worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow shall have its own worries. Each day has enough evil of itself. Do not then worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow shall have its own worries. Each day has enough evil of itself. Don't worry about tomorrow, yo. We have to get through today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Today has its own evil. And we have to focus on getting through this day, in order to see tomorrow. That was the end of chapter 6. He's going to continue his teachings into chapter 7, verse 1. Do not judge, lest you be judged. What does he mean by this? Do not judge, lest you be judged. When you're judging, that means like, you're judging someone fate. Like that's the worst way to judge someone, is like you're judging their execution. Like you're judging their fate and what's to be done, you know, what their ultimate fate would be and where they're going to go. And you tell a person that they're going to hell, and you tell a person they're this and they're going to this and they're going to that. It's one thing to say, you keep on this path and go unrepentant. This is what's going to happen. You got to specify if they go unrepentant. But if you just say what they've done leads them to, unless it's blaspheming the set apart spirit, unless it's blaspheming the spirit, you can't tell a person where they're ultimately going to go. So do not judge lest you be judged. What is this? Verse 2. For with what judgment you judge, you shall be judged. And with the same measure you use, it should be measured to you. So whatever you judge, whenever you're judging someone and you yourself could be judged, you're judging someone for whatever there is that they're doing and whatever it is that they're not doing. But there's something for you to be judged. There's something that someone can say to you and what you're doing or what you're not doing. The same judgment. You will be held to the same standard. You will be held to the same measurement, to the same judgment. It may be something different. They may be lacking something that you're not lacking, but you're lacking something that they're not lacking. You're doing something that they're not doing. They're doing something that you're not doing. So you're neither one can judge. The best bet is to clean up yourself. Focus on yourself. Make sure that you're doing all that's instructed and you're not doing anything that is unclean. That's the best you can do before you could go pointing the finger and try to. This is what he says, verse 3. And why do you look at the splinter in your brother's eye or your sister's eye, but do not notice the plank in your own eye? Like, how you going to look at somebody else, you got a splinter in your eye. Oh, you doing this, you doing that, or you're not doing this and you're not doing that. When you got your own thing going on that you're not doing, or what you're doing that you ain't got no business doing, or what you're not doing that you should be doing. Verse 4. Or how is it that you say to your brother, let me remove the splinter out of your eye and see a plank is in your own eye? Like, how you gonna say to somebody, yo, let me help you, this is what you should be doing. Da, 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 da. You gotta say this is what we should be doing. Never say this is what you should be. We should be doing. Not you, we. But before you can even say that, this is what the Messiah says. Hypocrite. This is who he is. This is another hypocrite of this is another definition of his. This is another definition of a hypocrite in the book of the Messiah, in the words of Messiah, in the definitions of Messiah. He says, hypocrite, first remove the plank from your own eye, and then you shall see clearly to remove the splinter out of your brother's eye. So you got to focus on what you got to remove out of your life, what you got to straighten up in your life first. You have to make sure you're following the instructions. You have to make sure that you're not unclean and you're not doing anything unclean. You have to make sure of that first before you can go saying to someone, yo, we should do this, or we should be doing this, or we shouldn't be doing this. Make sure that you doing everything that you're supposed to be doing first. Make sure that you're avoiding doing anything that you're not supposed to be doing first. You have to make sure of that first. Verse 6. Do not give what is set apart to the dogs, nor throw your pearls before the pigs, lest they trample them under their feet and turn and tear you in pieces. So he's saying the dogs pretty much are the dogs. The definition of dogs are unbelievers. That's what the scriptures define the dogs are. The scripture's definition of dogs is unbelievers. The scripture's definition of dogs are unbelievers. So he's saying, do not give what is set apart to unbelievers. People who are showing themselves to be committed to not believing in what you believe. They committed to atheism. They're committed to Satanism. They're committed to this. So when they show themselves to be committed to atheism and Satanism and all this other false, beliefs, they show themselves to be that, do not give what is set apart to them. This is not for them. These lessons is not for them. These teachings is not for them. It's not. And it says, nor throw your pearls before the pigs. These teachings, what a pig is, the biblical definition of a pig is the unclean. So the unbelievers and the unclean, these words are not for them. These lessons are not for them. These teachings are not for them. It says, do not throw your pearls before the pigs. That's the unclean. People who are unclean. People who are committed to being unclean. People who are they are grounded in uncleanliness. They're fine with being unclean. They're devoted to being unclean. This is not for them. This is not for them people. It says, don't share these teachings with them. Don't share these lessons with them. Don't share these examples with them. Don't share these instructions with them. Don't share these commands with them. Don't share these demonstrations with them. Because this is what they're going to do. They're going to trample them under their feet, meaning they're going to disrespect them. They're going to mock them. They're going to make a mockery of them. They're going to disrespect it and turn to tear you in pieces. So if they may very well go as far as to wanting to put hands on you. They're going to not only mock these teachings, these lessons, but they're going to make fun of them and make fun of you and mock you. for teaching it, for sharing it, and what to the point they may want to put hands on you. So it's not worth sharing any of this to the unbelievers. It's not worth sharing any of this to the unclean. Anyone who's showing themselves to be unbelievers or unclean, and that's what they do, and this is what they love, and this is where they want to be, and this is where they're going to be, it's not for them, yo. It's not for them. Verse 7, ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be open to you. What does he mean? Verse 8, for everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it shall be open. Verse 9, or is there a man among you who, if his son asks for bread, shall give him a stone? Verse 10, or if he asks for a fish, shall he give him a snake? Verse 11, if you then, being wicked, know how to give good gifts. So this, you should be asking this. That's the key word, good. Good gifts to your children. How much more shall your Father who is in the heavens give what is good, key word, good, to those who ask him? So you can't be asking the Most High for anything. It has to be for your own good. It has to be for the good of the spirit, the spiritual child in you. It has to be for your good. Food is for your good. That's why he said bread and fish. Not the rock, not something in the liking of a stone or liking of a snake. That's pretty much that will harm you. That's not good for your spirit. You can't be knocking, you can't be seeking and knocking and asking for what is not good for you. You can't be seeking, knocking, and asking for what's according to the flesh. Unless it's food, water, shelter, clothing. Outside of that, he's not going to give you a stone. He's not going to give you a snake. It's not going to give you something that's not, that's not in your best interest. Doesn't have your best interest and not in the will of his and not carrying out the will of his. He's not going to do that for you. You can forget about it. You can seek all you want, knock all you want, and ask all you want. He's not going to give you something that's not in the will of God, in the will of, carrying out his instructions, carrying out his way, and carrying out his will. And showing yourself to be a spiritual child of his. He's not going to give you something to make you a better child of the flesh, child of the world, child of the enemy. He's not going to do that. Verse 12, therefore, whatever you wish men to do to you, do also to them. For this is the Torah and the prophets. So this sums it up. This basically sums the Torah, the instructions of God pretty much teaches us how to respect our Creator and respect each other. That sums up the instructions of God, the commandments, the instructions of God, the spiritual laws of God. That sums it all up. That's what it's all about. Respecting him and respecting each other. That's all it sums up. That's all it's about. So this is what he says. Therefore, this is how it sums it up. Therefore, whatever you wish men to do to you, do also to them. For this is the instructions of God and the prophecies of the prophets of God. That's what the prophecies lead up to. Everyone treating each other how that's what it's going to be at the end of the day, in Judgment Day and after Judgment Day, in the day of the kingdom. People treating others how they want to be treated. Thoroughly treating others how they want to be treated. This is what the prophecies lead up to. This is what the prophecies of the prophets of God prophesied it leading to getting to this day to where everyone is treating each other how they want to be treated. This is what the instructions of God lead up to, which is Torah. The instructions of God is Torah. This is what the instructions of God covers, is respecting the Creator and respecting his creation like you want to be respected. And this is what the prophecies lead up to weed out all the people who aren't doing that. To weed out all the people who refuse to do that. So that all that's left is the people who do that. The instructions of God, which is treating others how they want to be treated. It's simple. It's not as complicated as most people make it to be. It's not. It's really not. Therefore, whatever you wish men to do to you, do also to them. For this is the Torah, meaning the instructions of God, and the prophets, meaning the prophecies of the prophets of God. Man, hallelujah, praise Yah for revealing that. Because I didn't reveal that. I didn't express, this is my first time expressing it in that sense, that the prophecies of God also lead to you treating others. This is what he means by this. This is what it's going to lead to. This is what the prophecies, this is the goal. This is the ultimate goal of the prophecy. The prophecies is for whatever is to get everybody to get to a point to whatever you wish men to do to you, you do also to them. This is where it all leads to. This is where every prophecy leads to, that ultimate goal, which is to treat others how you want to be treated. To have a world of people like that and weed out the people who refuse to treat people how they want to be treated. This is the ultimate goal of all the prophecies. And these are the instructions of God, which is Torah, is to teach us how to be that. And those who refuse to follow that, this is who we need. This is who the Most High needs to get rid of. This is what he's saying. This is why he returns. This is why there will be a judgment day. This is why there will be wrath. This is why there will be a day of wrath and a day of judgment. To get rid of the people who don't want to treat people how they want to be treated. This is the book of Matthew, by the way, chapter 7. And we just read verse 13. We just read verse 12, and we're reading verse 13. Enter in through the narrow gate, because the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction. And there are many who enter in through it. There are many who enter in through it. Why? Because there are many who don't want to treat people how they want to be treated, who are treating others how they wouldn't want to be treated themselves. There are many who will lead on a way to destruction, because there are many who will give their, who basically want to judge people and pick out planks in people's eyes when they got planks in their own eyes. They want to point out what you're doing, but they got 10 more things that they got going on. They want to point out what you're not doing, but they got 10 more things that they're not doing. That's why there will be many led to the way of the path of destruction. There will be many led to destruction because you have many who are worried about tomorrow, worried about what they're going to eat, what they're going to wear, what they're going to drink, worried about the matters of the flesh, instead of worrying about following his instructions and that coming anyway when you follow his instructions. Instead of worrying, there will be many led to the destruction because you have many worried about serving money, saving money. Serving money, which is saving money, all this money, and not investing the money in less fortunate people. You got many who will lead led to destruction because that's what they're focused on, laying up treasures on the earth, saving all this money on earth. That's why you will have many led to destruction. Many will be led to destruction because they don't pray in secret. They don't fast in secret. They want to tell everybody about it. They want to pray in front of everybody and go on these long prayers and be hypocrites, what the Messiah called hypocrites. They don't want to do their good deeds in secret. They want to get their camera out and record. They want to tell everybody what they did for people. They don't want to let nobody borrow. They don't want to love their enemies. They don't want to bless those cursing them. They don't want to do, they want to greet their brothers and their sisters only. They only love those who love them. They want an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. They want to slap people back. They don't let nobody borrow nothing. They're not humble. They don't mourn for others. They're not friendly. They're not obedient. They're not compassionate. They're not peacemakers. This is why most will be led to destruction. Verse 14, because the gate is narrow and the way is hard pressed, which leads to life, and there are few who find it. There will be few who find spiritual life in the kingdom because there are few who are humble, who humbles themselves, who are poor in spirit. There are few who mourn for others, have empathy for others. There are few who are friendly, meek, approachable. There are few who are obedient, which is righteous, who hunger and thirst for righteous. There are few who are compassionate. There are few who are clean in heart, peacemakers. There are few letting their light shine before men so that they can see the good works and praise their Father in the heavens, so others can see that you are humble, that you mourn, that you care, that you're compassionate. There are few who wants to do this. There are few who are not divorcing their wives because they can't get along with them anymore. There are few who are not divorcing their wives because they're not attracted to them anymore. There are few who are not divorcing their wives because, they're attracted to another female. There are few. There are few who want to love their enemies, man. It's the spirit. I get it. It's the breath of life spirit within that is the only one capable of loving their enemies, doing good for those cursing them, and praying for those insulting them and persecuting them, and doing good to those hating them. That's why there will be few who find this spiritual life in the kingdom. That's why there will be few, because there are few who are striving to do this, striving to be these spiritual children, striving to deny their flesh of what it wants to say and what it wants to do and where it wants to go and who it wants to be with. There are few denying themselves of that. There are few who will find it. Verse 15, but beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are savage wolves. So the false prophets and the savage wolves are those who wearing the sheep clothing, the suits and the ties and the garments, the Middle Eastern garments. These are the savage wolves and the false prophets, man. How and why? This is why. It says, by their fruit you shall know them. What are the fruit? Everything that we've covered from beginning of chapter 5 to where we are now. This is the fruit. By their fruit. If this isn't their fruit, you should know that there are false prophets. You should know that they're savage wolves. If this isn't their fruit. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Verse 17, so every good tree yields good fruit, but a rotten tree yields wicked fruit. Verse 18, a good tree is unable to yield wicked fruit, and a rotten tree to yield good fruit. Verse 19, every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. This is no different than what John explained in the beginning of Matthew. In the beginning of Matthew. This is no different than what John said, John the Baptist said. In chapter 3, verse 10. And the axe is already laid to the root of the trees. Every tree, then, which does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. This is the fruit. The fruit is the lessons of the teacher, the Yahushua HaMashiach. The fruit is the demonstrations of Yahushua HaMashiach. The fruit is the examples of the Messiah. The fruit is the teachings of the Messiah that he's given us from the beginning of chapter 5 to where we are now, wrapping it up in chapter 7. If it's not this, if your pastor, your preacher, your minister, your rabbi, whoever which they shouldn't be calling themselves, your leader of your congregation isn't displaying this fruit, is sharing this fruit and demonstrating this fruit, which is everything that he laid out from chapter 5 in the book of Matthew to chapter 7 into chapter 7. If they're not doing this, if they're not producing this, this is good fruit. This is the good fruit. If they're not producing this, every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Verse 20, so you should be, if they're not doing it, that doesn't make you fruitless. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be bearing this fruit. Because if they're not, and you're not, you should be cut down and thrown into the fire as well if you're not bearing the fruit. Verse 20, so then, by their fruits you should know them. These are the fruits. Verse 21, not everyone who says to me, Master, Master, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the reign, the kingdom of heavens. This is what the Messiah is saying. Not everyone is going to enter. Not everyone who's calling him Master and Lord is going to enter. Not everyone who is calling him Lord and Master shall enter into the kingdom of heavens. But he or she who is doing the desire of my Father in the heavens. What is the desire of his Father in the heavens? The desire of his Father is the instructions of his Father. You think his Father just came up with these instructions because just for the sake of it? You think his Father has this spiritual government with spiritual laws for the sake of it? His desire is for you to follow his instructions. The desire of his Father is for you to follow his instructions. The desire of his Father is for you to obey his spiritual law. The desire of his Father is for you to obey his spiritual government. So if you're disobeying his spiritual government, disobeying the spiritual laws of his Father, disobeying the spiritual government of his Father, you're not doing the desire of his Father. So if you're not doing the desire of his Father, you won't find yourself entering the kingdom of the heavens. Because it says, but he who is doing the desire of my Father in the heavens. That's his Father's kingdom. How you going to enter his father's kingdom if you're not following the rules of his kingdom? That's just like if you're invited to someone's house, but if you show yourself to not follow the rules of their house, like if you go over your friend's house, you have to follow the rules of their parents and the parents' rules of their household. If you're not following the rules of their parents, of your friend's parents, you're no longer invited to that household. You're no longer invited over. It's the same with the kingdom. If you're not following the instructions, if you're not following the rules of the kingdom, you're not invited into the kingdom. It's that simple. How can you expect to be invited in the kingdom if you're not following the rules of the kingdom? How do you expect to get an invite? It's clearly on record that you don't follow the rules of, you're not following the rules of the kingdom. You're not allowed here. You're not wanted here. You're not invited here. That's with any function. If you run any function and you know someone to be disruptive, you know that's in class. You can break down in class. If you're not following the rules of the classroom and the teacher's rules in the classroom, she's going to send you to the principal's office. She's going to kick you out of her class. She don't want you in her class. He or she doesn't want you in their class. It's no different than the kingdom, bro. Sis. Not everyone who says to me, Master, Master, Lord, Lord, shall enter into this kingdom, into the classroom, into the house of the heavens, but he who is doing the desire of my Father in the heavens, the rules of the Father in heavens. Verse 22, many shall say to me in that day, meaning the day of judgment, meaning in the day of his return. Many shall say to me in that day, Master, Master, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name and cast out demons in your name and done many mighty works in your name? So these will be people who are calling him Master, Master, and Lord, Lord, and who have prophesied in his name and what they thought was his name and cast out demons in his name, or what was thought to be his name, and done many mighty works in his name, or what was thought to be his name. This is what they're going to be saying. Like, you remember we did this, that, and the third? Verse 23, and then I shall desire, this is what he says, and then I shall declare to them. This is what he's going to say. I never knew you. I never knew you, because you never followed the instructions of my Father. You never followed the rules of my Father's house. I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work lawlessness. So these are clearly the people who believe that we shouldn't obey the law, the spiritual laws of God. These are clearly people who believe we shouldn't obey the spiritual laws, the spiritual government of God. These are clearly the people he's going to call lawless and tell them to depart from him. Depart from me, you who work lawlessness. Who else is he talking about? He's not talking about those he's not talking about those who obey his Father's spiritual law, his Father's spiritual government. He's not talking about them. He's not going to be talking about them. He's obviously going to be talking about people who don't believe in his Father's spiritual law, who doesn't believe to obey his Father's spiritual law, who doesn't believe to obey his Father's spiritual government. He's clearly going to be talking to them. And they're clearly going to be the ones who's not invited into his Father's kingdom, which is ran by the spiritual government with spiritual law. Verse 24, therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine, these words of his, No one else's. These words of his. No one else's. If it's not similar to these words of his, that's their words. That's that. This ain't this. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine, his, and does them, shall be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain came down, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat on that house. And it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. So the rock is his words, the words of the only begotten Son, the teachings of the only begotten Son, the lessons of the only begotten Son, the examples of the only begotten Son, the demonstrations of the only begotten Son, all that he covered from chapter 5 to where we are now, these words of his teachings. This is the rock. If you ain't on this, you ain't on nothing. If you ain't on this, you ain't on nothing. This is what he's saying. And everyone who hears these words of mine, his, not his students, unless his students is speaking the words of his. Unless what they're saying is it corroborates and coincide with the words of his. Past or present. Past or present disciples, apostles, or students. If it doesn't coincide with the words of his, what he covered from chapter 5 to chapter 7, this is what it is. He says, and everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them shall be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand, basically on nothing. You built your house on nothing. Your whole ministry is on nothing if it ain't on this. Your whole church, your whole place of worship is on nothing if it ain't on this. Your whole temple, your whole congregation is built on nothing if it ain't built on this. Your whole assembly, your whole gathering, your whole channel, your account is built on nothing if it ain't built on this. These words of his, these teachings of his, these lessons of his, these demonstrations, these examples covered from chapter 5 to where we are in chapter 7, wrapping up. And the rain came down, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and they beat on that house, and it fell, and great was its fall. You're likely going to fall. Everything is likely to fall that you built if it ain't built on this. If the foundation isn't this, it's likely to fall. It's likely to fail. It's likely to be exposed. I'm just saying. He's just saying, not me. He's just saying. He of all he's. Him of all hims. Verse 28. And it came to be when Yahushua had ended these words that the people were astonished at his teaching. So he's finally ending these words that started in chapter 5, verse 2. He's finally putting an end to these words that started in chapter 5, verse 2 of Matthew. He's finally putting an end to these words in chapter 7, verse 28. And it came to be when Yahushua had ended these words that the people were astonished at his teachings. These were his teachings that began in the chapter 5 of Matthew, verse 2, and ended here clearly in chapter 7, verse 28. These were his teachings. Verse 29, for he was teaching them as one possessing authority, because he was and he is, and not as the scribes. Those were his teachings. Those were his lessons. Those were his examples. Those were his demonstrations. We're going to cover them every week, y'all willing. Every week, every Shabbat. This is what we're going over. Let's move on to his instructions and his commands to that he gave his first students, his 12 disciples, his first taught ones, his 12 taught ones, his 12 students, that they were to learn and give to us, to his students of today, his students of the world, to make students and taught ones and disciples of the nations. This is what he taught them. These were his teachings. This is what we were to learn. This is what they were to learn and teach to others. And these instructions, this is how they were to go about teaching others in the in the um in the fashion of these instructions and these commands that we're about to go over. Chapter 9, verse 35. And Yahushua went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their congregations and proclaiming the good news. So these are his teachings. This is what the Messiah done himself. Went about all the cities. He wasn't posting up. He went about all the cities. This is what they should have been doing, and this is what we should be doing as the modern day taught ones, disciples and students of his. Going about all the cities and villages, teaching in their congregations and proclaiming the good news. Teaching what? Teaching what was taught from chapter 5 to chapter 7. Also proclaiming the good news of the reign. What's the good news? The reign, the kingdom is coming. That's the good news. That's good news. There's a kingdom coming. And healing every disease and every bodily weakness among the people. Healing every disease. So if you have the knowledge of healing and if you have the knowledge to heal, this is what you should be doing as well. This is part of the work. Verse 36, and having seen the crowds, he was moved with compassion. Being compassionate, so we should be moved with compassion. They should have been moved with compassion. We should be moved with compassion as modern day students, taught ones, and disciples of his. He was moved with compassion for them because they were weary and scattered as sheep, having no shepherd. Verse 37, then he said to his taught ones, his students, his disciples, his 12, the harvest truly is great, but the workers are few. So he's telling them, he's acknowledging that, we're few. You are few in numbers, and the harvest is great, is the world. You have to make disciples of the students and taught ones of the nations, but it's just 12 of you. So this was clear instructions to them, like, yo, man, you gotta make more. You gotta learn this, teach this, and make taught ones students, more of you, more than 12. Then he said to his taught ones, the harvest truly is great, but the workers are few. Verse 38, pray then that the master of the harvest would send out workers to his harvest. So this is where he made it clear that it has to be more workers of the harvest. And these workers, these students, these first 12 were just the first 12, but they were to make more. They were to go out and make more. It wasn't just to be them. They were to go out and make more. This is a clear indication of that. Pray then that the master of the harvest would send out workers to his harvest. It wasn't just them. That's why he said, make disciples of the nation. Make workers of the harvest out of the nations. Make students of his out of the nations using his teachings. Make taught ones of his out of the nations using his teachings. Chapter 10, and having called his 12 ones, and having called his 12 taught ones, his disciples, his students, near, he gave them authority over unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal every disease and every bodily weakness. So they was given the gift to heal and cast out unclean spirits, and also have the authority, to do so. And this is what they're to teach others to basically have and to do, to obtain, to be able to do the same thing. Verse 2, and these are the names of the 12 emissaries. These first, Shimon, who is called Kepha, Peter, and Andre, his brother, Yaakov, the son of Zabdai, and Yohanan, his brother, Philip, and Bartholomew, Tooma, and Matniyahu, the tax collector, Yaakov, and Yehukob, the son of Alphi, and Labai, whose last name was Tadai. And that's interesting that they had last names. That was something I noticed last week, that last names were a thing back then. Verse 4, Shimon the Canaanite and Yehuda from Korioth, who did also deliver him up. So that was, Judas. So that was the 12. That was his original 12 taught ones, disciples and students, that he's sending out clearly with this authority to teach his teachings and to, heal those who need to be healed and to cast out unclean spirits that need to be cast out. This is what we should be doing to this day. To this day. That always get me. Verse 4, Shimon, the Canaanite. Verse 5, Yahushua sent these 12 out. Yahushua sent these 12 out. He didn't tell them, yo, let's build this church. Yo, let's build this building. Yo, let's build this temple. Yo, let's build this assembly. Yo, let's build this congregation. Yo, let's build this place of worship. He didn't say that. He sent them out, yo. As we all should, who claim to be students, disciples, taught ones of his, followers of his, as we all should be sent out, not building our own following in this building and asking people to pay for the utilities. He didn't do that. Yahushua sent these 12 out, having commanded them. This is what he commanded them, like he commanded us. He not only commanded them, but he commanded us, saying, do not go into the way of the nations, meaning those who are unbelievers. This is what I strongly believe. This is what he's saying. The nations is always linked to, like, those, basically those rule and those who are committed to be unbelievers or different believers. And do not enter the city of Shomaroni. So this is clear. Shomaroni must be a clear place of a different belief system, and they committed to this different belief. Don't go waste your time in these places. Don't go waste your time on these people. They're committed to their place, their practice, and their prophet, and their who they believe is a prophet and who they believe is God. Don't enter these places. Verse 6, but rather go to the lost sheep of the house of Yisrael, meaning go to the people who acknowledge the God of Yisrael, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Yisrael. Go to the people who not acknowledge the God. Go to those people. This is who this is for. This is who you need to make disciples out of, the students out of, and taught ones out of. Those who acknowledge the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which is who is Yisrael. Verse 7. And as you go, proclaim, saying, so this is what you should proclaim as you're going. The reign of the heavens has drawn near. So this is the good news. You should proclaim like he was doing, how it's depicted in chapter 9, verse 35, where he says, he proclaiming the good news of the reign, the kingdom. This is what he's telling them to do also. While they're doing what he was doing, where he was like healing every disease and every bodily weakness, this is what he sent them out to do as well. Heal the sick, cleanse the leper. After but you have to proclaim that the good news, proclaim the good news that the kingdom is coming. That's the good news. That's the good news. There's no other good news but the kingdom is coming, and how you repent to enter this kingdom. Repent, turn back to his instructions, the instructions of his Father, and follow the lessons and teachings of his. Verse 8, heal the sick, cleanse the leper, raise the dead, meaning, cast out demons. You have received without pain, give without being paid. So give this service, provide this service without being paid. You're not to be providing this service online or offline or in these buildings asking to be paid for your utilities. That's not what this is about. That's not what this is. This is not that's not the work of the harvest. That's not the work of the Messiah. He's clearly telling you to heal the sick, cleanse the leper. If you have the knowledge to heal, if you have the knowledge to cleanse, if you have the knowledge to bring people back, as far as like resuscitate people, CPR and all that. If you have the knowledge to cast out unclean spirits, you have received, you should, because he taught this. And you received these teachings that he taught without you paying him. The original disciples received this without them having to pay Messiah. So he's telling them to give the same services without being paid. Give the same services without being paid. Verse 9, do not acquire gold or silver or copper for your money belts. Do not acquire that. Do not ask people, for this money as you go. Let alone staying in these buildings or one place on your account and asking for donations, asking for people to help pay for your utilities. No. Do not acquire gold, silver, copper, money for your money belts. Don't ask nobody for no money, man. Stop trying to justify you talking about tithing and all that. The tithe is food. Tithe is not money. Tithe is food. Tithe is not money. Tithe is food. Always been food, always will be food. And he's clearly going to cover that point. Do not acquire gold or silver or copper for your money belts. Verse 10, or a bag for the journey. So not even clothes, not even accessories, or 2 undergarments, or sandals, or staves. For the worker is worthy of his food. That's the tithe. It's food. That's the only thing you're worthy of. It's food. Ask to be fed for your services. Ask to be fed for your services. You're not to ask to be paid for your services. Ask to be fed. Do you have something to eat? You can tithe me in that, in your food, sir, ma'am. And this is consistent with the whole scriptures that tithing is food. This is where verse 11. And into whatever city or village you enter, ask who is worthy in it, and stay there until you leave. Who is worthy is basically who has food, who has shelter, who is, a good person, a spiritual child of God. That's who's worthy. And stay there until you leave. So this is you going house to house. This is not you setting up shop somewhere. This is you keeping it moving. This has nothing to do with you building your own church or building your own temple or building your own building or building your own following and having an account and asking people to pay for your utilities or send you donations, send you money. This has nothing to do with any of that. This is about you being on the move and sharing the news of the kingdom coming, the good news of the kingdom coming, and how to repent, turn back to the instructions of God to enter that kingdom, and to heal if you know how to heal, cleanse if you know how to cleanse, and cast out unclean spirits. Not asking for money, not asking for tithe. The tithe is the food. That's all you ask for is food to be fed. That's the tithe. Tithe has nothing to do with money. It's always been food and it will always be food. And this is a clear indication of this. Matthew chapter 10, verse 10. Worthy of his food. Verse 12. And as you enter into a house, greet it. Shalom. Verse 13, and if the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. Shalom. But if it is not worthy, let your peace return to you. No, this ain't a peace. If the person that you pop up in their place and they ain't peaceful, let your peace return to you because they show themselves to not be peaceful people. Verse 14, and whoever does not receive you, nor hear your words, which shouldn't be your words, it should be the words of his, because you're going out teaching his teachings, the Messiah's teachings. If they don't hear those teachings, which should be your words, your only words, when you leave that house or city, shake off the dust from your feet. Be done with that place. Be done with that person. Verse 15, truly I say to you, it shall be more bearable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Because if that city doesn't hear you, and you're presenting the teachings of the teacher, the Messiah, his lessons, and of the only begotten Son, the examples and demonstrations, it should be worse for them because Sodom and Gomorrah didn't have the teacher. They didn't have these teachings. They didn't have these examples. They didn't have these lessons. They didn't have these demonstrations. So it'd be worse for you than it would be for them. It would be worse for that city who didn't listen to the teachings than it would be for Sodom and Gomorrah who didn't have the teacher to begin with. Verse 16, see, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore, be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Innocent, meaning you can't be guilty of foolishness. You can't be guilty of doing something illegal or breaking the spiritual laws of the spiritual government. You can't be guilty of this. You can't be guilty of any of. You got to be innocent as a dove because he's sending you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore, be wise as a serpent. Be wise. Use your knowledge, your spiritual knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, your intuition, your spiritual intuition, your spiritual insight, your discernment. But you also have to be innocent as doves. You can't be guilty of sinning. You can't be guilty of being unclean. You can't be guilty of being wicked, evil, unrighteous. You can't be guilty of breaking the spiritual law of the spiritual government of God. Can't be guilty of that. Got to be innocent. Verse 17. But beware of men, for they shall deliver you up to the Sanhedrin and flog you in their congregations. This is what they'll do they'll make a mockery of you in their congregations, in their ministries, where they shouldn't even be having ministry, where they shouldn't be having these buildings, where they accept these tithes, this money, when it should be food on their account. This is where they will flog you. This is where they'll mock you. This is where they'll try to discredit you on their accounts and in their buildings, in their places in their churches, in their places of worship. Verse 18, and you shall be brought before governors and sovereigns, kings, for my sake, as a witness to them and to the nations. So for his sake, you will be brought before governors, government, world governors, world government, and world kings, for his sake, for doing what he instructed, for doing what he taught, for doing what he left as an example, for doing what he demonstrated, for doing what he left as lessons. You will be brought before world government and world kings to witness to them and to the nations. Like, yo, I am demonstrating what you should be demonstrating. I am demonstrating, following what you should be following. Verse 19. But when they deliver you up, do not worry about how or what you should speak, for it shall be given to you in that hour what you shall speak. Don't worry about it. How? How is it going to be given to you? Let them explain. Verse 20. For it is not you who speak, but the Spirit of your Father speaking in you. Believe that. The Spirit of your Father speaking in you. Speaking in you. Let me see what this says, man, because let's stop playing. Like, why really, like, why we be playing like we don't got the spirit of God in us? Why we be playing, man? That's all I want to know. Why we be playing like the spirit of the Most High ain't in us, speaking in us? Like that inner voice isn't the spirit of God. Like that inner voice isn't what we need to be tapping into. Huh? Like, really, though. Like, that's what it says in the King James. I had to be sure. Even in the King James, it says, for it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. This is that voice that we need to be listening to. This is the Spirit that we listen to. This is also indication and proof that we have the Spirit, the breath of life, Spirit of God within us. We're made up of two, flesh and spirit. Flesh on the outer, spirit is within. So it won't be you. It's not me now speaking, because my own words and my flesh speaking, it sounds foolish. My own words and me speaking my own words, it comes off like confusing and very, very hard to understand. For it is not you who speak, but the Spirit of your Father speaking in you. Clear indication that we have the Spirit of our Father in us. Verse 21, and brother shall deliver up brother to death, and father his child, and children shall rise up against parents and shall put them to death. Verse 22, and you shall be hated by all for my name's sake. But he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. Endured to the end. So enduring to the end, meaning following his lessons to the end, following his examples to the end, following his demonstrations to the end, following his teachings to the end, following his instructions to the end, following what he commanded to the end, following the instructions of his father till the end. It's the only way for you to be saved. You have to endure all of this while following all of what was taught, demonstrated, left as an example to the end. You should be hated by all for his name's sake, for his name, for his true name. Not his 500-year-old name. Just saying. Verse 23, and when they persecute you in this city, flee to another. For truly I say to you, you shall by no means have gone through the cities of Israel before the son of Adam comes. So you won't run out of places to flee. So this is consistent with him telling you to keep it moving, to go out and keep it moving. His assembly should be out, keeping it moving, sharing the good news of the kingdom, and keeping it moving if they're persecuted, not standing against people or sticking around. You have to flee to another. You have to flee. Flee to another city. You won't run out of cities to flee. You won't run out of cities to flee before he comes. This is what this means. You won't run out of places to flee to before he comes. Verse 24, a taught one is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. So this is a clear indication that a student, a disciple, an apostle, a taught one is not above the teacher, the Messiah. It's not above his teachings. Their teachings is not above his teachings. Their opinions is not above his teachings. Their words are not above his words. Nor a servant above his master. No ancient brother of ours or present brother of ours words are above the teachings of the teachings of the Messiah. None of their opinions, whether they're ancient brothers of ours or present brothers of ours, none of their opinions are above the teachings of the Messiah. Let's just keep that clear. Verse 25, it is enough for the taught one to become like his teacher and a servant like his master. What does he mean by that? It's enough for them to basically be doing what was taught, following what was taught, following what was left as a demonstrated, following what was demonstrated, following what was left as an example. It's enough to do that, to be like the teacher, basically to obey the teacher, to follow the teacher, to do all that they did, going out into cities and villages, teaching and preaching, sharing the good news, sharing the teachings of his. It's enough to do that. It's not. You may hear people say, "Oh, he said you'd be greater. You would be greater, do greater things." No, what he meant was basically do what he's been doing on a larger scale, like getting out to more people. That's what that meant. Not being greater than him or doing greater than him, and sharing your own teachings and doing your own, leaving your own examples and leaving your own demonstrations behind. That's not what that meant. If they have called the master of the house of Beelzebub, if they have called the master of the house of Beelzebub, how much more those of his household? So if they call the Messiah that of Beelzebub, that's what they're going to be calling his true followers, his true students, his true taught ones, his true disciples. That's what you can hear people calling. I won't be surprised people calling me this on their platforms, calling me this in their places of worship, calling anyone like me who truly is a modern day student, modern day taught one, and a modern day disciple of the Mashiach and his teachings. I won't be surprised they're calling us that. Oh, they're working witchcraft, or they're the master of the demons. It's demonic and all that. No. Verse 26, therefore do not fear them, for whatever is covered shall be revealed, and whatever is hidden shall be made known. Verse 27, what I say to you in the dark, speak in the light, and what you hear in the ear, proclaim on the housetops. So when you hear whatever you hear in the ear, which is, his spirit speaking in you, obviously the spirit of the Father speaking in you, the spirit of your Father speaking in you because you're a spiritual child of his. Speak on the rooftops, proclaim on the rooftops, proclaim the kingdom is coming. Proclaim you have to repent in order to enter in. Proclaim the teachings of his only begotten Son, the lessons, the examples, the demonstrations, the instructions, the commands, how to go about it in that fashion. Proclaim it on the rooftops. Verse 28, and do not fear those who kill the body, but are unable to kill the being, which is the spirit. But rather fear him who is able to destroy both being and body in Gehenna. Being is the spirit. Body is the flesh. So don't fear one who can only destroy the body. Body can only destroy body. Flesh can't destroy spirit. Only the maker of both, the creator of both, can destroy both. Only the creator of the spirit can destroy the spirit in the day of judgment, in the lake of fire. That's where all spirits will be destroyed. Until then, they return to sleep, rest with the relatives, and wait for the day of judgment. They will return to rest with the relatives where their relatives return, which is to the Supreme Spirit where they came. Verse 28, and do not fear those who kill the body, but are unable to kill the being, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both being and body in the Gehenna. Verse 29, are not 2 sparrows sold for a copper coin, and not one of them falls to the ground without your Father? Verse 30, and even the hairs of your head are all numbered. Verse 31, so do not fear. You are worth more than many sparrows. Do not fear. You are worth more than many sparrows who he allows to fly, and they don't drop. They don't drop to the ground because, the Messiah is in control of that. And we are worth more than sparrows. Verse 32, everyone, therefore, who shall confess me before men, him I shall also confess before my Father who is in the heavens. So he's saying, confess me before men. Like, don't be ashamed of me. Don't be ashamed of knowing me or following me or being a student of mine, being a taught one of mine, being a disciple of mine. He's like, don't be ashamed of that. Let it be known. Because if you do, him, those who do, he says, I shall also confess before my Father who is in the heavens. So this is how he gets you. This is how he basically gives a recommendation to his Father. Like, yeah, they legit. They're students of mine. They're disciples of mine. They're taught ones of mine. They're spiritual children of yours. You can enter them into the book of life. Verse 33, but whoever shall deny me before men, him I shall also deny before my Father who is in the heavens. So if you ashamed of him before men, before people, if you ashamed of being a student, if you're ashamed of being his student, you're ashamed of being his taught one, you're ashamed of being his disciple, you're ashamed of being a spiritual child of his Father, he's going to be ashamed of you. And he's not going to give you a mention to his Father. And you won't make it into the book of life. Verse 34, do not think that I have come to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. What does he mean by this? Verse 35, for I have come to bring division. What does he mean by division? A man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Verse 36, and a man's enemies are those of his own household. What does he mean by this? He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he who loves his son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take, before I even go there, what he means is he came to divide. Don't think that he come to bring peace between children of the flesh, children of the enemy, children of the world, and spiritual children of God. He didn't come to bring peace amongst them. He came to bring a sword to divide them. Because he needs to know who's the spiritual child of his Father, and he needs to know who's a child of the world, a child of the flesh, a child of the enemy. He needs to know. That's why he comes to do it. The word is the sword. The word of God is the sword, and the word is what separates the child of flesh from the child of the spirit. The child of the spirit is going to follow the instructions of the spirit. The child of the flesh is going to disobey and not follow the instruction of the spirit, the supreme spirit. So this is why it's a sword. The word is a sword. So you're not going to fight. This is what separates the two. So this is what's going to separate even family. And it's going to be tough with family because that's why it's like, yo, with your daughter, with your children, if your children is children of the flesh, and you're a child and you're a spiritual child of God, you're going to have to make a decision to, be worthy of me. Because if you love them more than me, you're going to compromise for them. You're going to compromise doing what I taught, following what I, instructed and commanded, and what following the lessons in the teachings. You're going to compromise that. You're going to compromise that. So this is what he's saying. This is why he bring a sword. This is why he didn't bring peace. This is why he's saying if you love your father, your parents, or your children more than you love me, you're not worthy. You're not worthy of me. Verse 38. Because what they should be doing what you doing. They should be doing what you're doing anyway. Your children should be following the same lessons that you're following. Your children should be following the same teachings that you're following. Your children should be following the same demonstrations if you've done your job as a parent. And your parents should be following the same lessons. If they've done their job, or if their parents done their job, or if they just humble themselves and admit that they were wrong and repent. But it's not on you to change their minds or conform to them. if they're not following the instructions of your spiritual father, your father of all fathers. Verse 38, and he who does not take up his stake and follow after me is not worthy of me. So this word stake is basically a stick. Basically, you may know it as a cross in other in other versions of the Bible. But what it really is a walking stick for the journey. Like it's a stake. It's a mere stick. It's a mere stick. It's not. He's not asking you to take up a cross, because the cross is considered a carved image, and he told us, and his father instructed us not to worship with a carved image. Worship a carved image or worship with a carved image, or make them in, or even make them. So we know that this is not the cross, and he's not putting the importance on this. He's more so saying those who do not follow after him is not worthy of him. So if you don't follow me, if you don't choose following me over going with your parents, or choose following me over going with your children, you're not worthy of me. And this is ultimately what he is saying. You can eliminate the stake part and just say, and he who does not, follow after me is not worthy of me, because that's all he's really saying in this verse. He who does not follow after me is not worthy of me. The whole taking up the cross thing is not, that's just that built a whole misleading and a falsehood. That's built a whole falsehood in itself. This verse is putting more importance on taking up this carved image than what he was actually saying, which was, if you don't follow me over your parents or follow me over your children, you're not worthy of me. That's all he's actually saying. That's all he's really saying here. Verse 39, he who has found his life shall lose it, and he that has lost his life for my sake shall find it. So he who has found his career, he or she who has found their career, he or she who has started a family, shall lose it anyway. In the day of wrath, in the day of destruction, in the day of Yah, they're going to lose it anyway. You know what I mean? They're going to lose it anyway, because everything for the flesh, all flesh, and everything for the flesh, made by the flesh and for the flesh, will be incinerated. So they're going to lose that anyway. So that's why it says, he who has found his life shall lose it, and he that has lost his life for my sake shall find it. So if you lost your life, your family, for his sake, if your family disowned you for his sake, for following his lessons, his teachings, his demonstrations, his examples, if you lost your children, if you lost your career for his sake, you have found life. You have actually found true life. And true life is in the spirit realm. True life is within the spirit. It's being a spiritual child of his in the kingdom, in the spiritual kingdom. I hope I'm getting through, man. I hope he's getting through. I hope we're getting somewhere. Verse 40, he who receives you receives me, and he who receives me receives him who sent me. So he who receives a taught one, a disciple, a student of the Messiah, receives the Messiah, because they're coming with his teachings. They're coming with his lessons, his examples, his demonstrations. And whoever receives the Messiah receives the Father, because he's coming in the will of his Father. He's coming in the name of his Father. He's coming with the instructions of his Father, with the prophecies and fulfilling the prophecies of his Father. Verse 41, he who receives a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. And he who receives, so if you receive one coming with the prophecies of the prophets of old, you will receive the prophet's reward. And he who receives a righteous one in the name of a righteous one shall receive a righteous one reward. So if you receive one who is obedient in the name of one who was obedient in the past, our ancient brothers and sisters, you will receive a righteous one reward. Verse 42, and whoever gives one of these little ones a cup of cold water only in the name of a taught one, truly I say to you, he shall by no means lose his reward. So if you give water, food, tithe, this is water and food. Tithing is the water and the food. So if you, when the taught one is out doing these instructions, this is all for surface, man. It's lovely how he sums it up with this. Just to be clear, like you are only to accept water. His taught one, a little one is a taught one. Taught one is a disciple. Disciple is a student of the Messiah, teaching his teaching, who learned his teaching and teaching his teachings. When you're going out teaching his teachings and someone gives you a cup of water or food, which is all you should be accepting is water and food from them, which is the true tithe, you should receive a reward. You should receive the reward of a taught one or a little one, a student of his, a disciple of his. Don't let this go over your heads, brothers and sisters. Chapter 11, this is where he clearly bring this to a close. Bring these instructions and these commands for his past and present students, disciples, and taught ones. This is where he clearly brings it to a close. And it came to be when Yahushua ended instructing his 12 taught ones that he set out from there to teach what? What he taught. And to proclaim what? The good news that the kingdom is coming and we have to repent in order to enter. Repent, what does that mean? Turn back to the instructions of his Father and the lessons and the teachings and the examples and demonstrations of his only begotten Son. And do it in the fashion of these instructions that he is bringing to a close. And it came to be when Yahushua ended instructing his 12 taught ones, his 12 disciples, his 12 students, that he set out from there to teach and to proclaim in their cities. Come on, man. Those were the end of his instructions. Those were the end of his commands for us. Those who claim to be followers of his, those who claim to be students of his, those who claim to be disciples of his, those who claim to be taught ones of his, little ones, spiritual children of his Father. Those who claim all that, or even who's even aware of all that, these were our instructions from chapter 9, verse 35 to chapter 11, verse 1. These were our instructions. Don't let no one tell you different. His teachings were from Matthew chapter 5, verse 2 to chapter 7, verse 28. His instructions, how to teach those teachings in the fashion, were from chapter 9 in the book of Matthew, verse 35, to chapter 11, verse 1. And we just covered them. Let's move on. We got time. Praise Yah, we got time. Let's get into his prophecies in the book of Matthew. The book of Matthew, chapter 24. Let's get into those prophecies. The book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 1. And going out, peep that he's continued, like, peep how consistent he is with going out. He's not never setting up shop and staying stationed in these buildings like these people who claim to be followers of his are doing today, stationed in their buildings and asking for utility money. And going out, Yahushua went away from the set apart place, and his taught ones came near to point out to him the buildings of the set apart place. And these are the temples. These were the temples. These is what was known as, what we know as churches today, places of worship today. This is what these set apart places were. Verse 2. And Yahushua said to them, do you not see all these? Truly, do you not see all these, the temples, the set apart places, these buildings? This is what he's pointing out to his taught ones. Truly I say to you, not one stone shall be left here upon another at all, which shall not be thrown down. So this is a clear indication that he thrown down and he did away with buildings, these temples and these buildings, and having buildings. And all should be going out. All should be going out sharing this good news. All should be going out sharing his teachings. All should be going out healing. All should be going out casting out unclean spirits. All should be going out doing the will of his Father, doing the desire of his Father, sharing. None will be left here upon another at all, which shall not be thrown down. Verse 3. And as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the taught ones came to him separately, saying, say to us, when shall this be? And what is the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? So they are asking, when will his coming? When will he return? When will be the day of Yah? When will it be the day of Yah, the day of judgment, the day of the kingdom, and where, all buildings are obsolete, all temples are obsolete, all places of worship, buildings of worship is obsolete, and the building will be. Verse 4, and Yahushua answering said to them, take heed that no one leads you astray. Take heed that no one leads you astray. That meaning not near nada. Not a near nada person lead you astray. Not your ancient brother, not your present brother or sister. Let no one lead you astray. Who will even have the chance to lead you astray? If, think about that. He's clearly telling them to watch their own people. Because who else would have a chance to lead them astray? If someone's clearly demonic and someone's clearly, if someone's clearly an unbeliever, they can't be led astray by that person. They're clearly demonic and clearly an unbeliever. So how would they be fooled? How would they be fooled by them? They won't be fooled. No one will be fooled by them. Like, yo, you clearly demonic and you're clearly an unbeliever. Why would I be fooled by you? Why would I be led astray by you? Why would I be led by you? Why would I be tricked to be led by you? So these are clearly people who will disguise themselves as being, followers of the Messiah and knowing the teachings of the Messiah when they don't share the teachings of the Messiah whatsoever. They don't know the teachings of the Messiah, and they're not sharing and they're not doing the teachings of the Messiah. Take heed that no one leads you astray. Verse 5, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and they shall lead many astray. And they shall lead many astray. Verse 6, and you shall begin to hear of fighting and reports of fightings. See that you are not troubled, for these have to take place, but the end is not yet. So we hear this trouble. We hear this fighting. It has to take place. This fighting and this trouble has to take place because it's fulfilling the prophecies. It's fulfilling the prophecies. This fighting and this reports of fighting, it has to take place because it's fulfilling the prophecy. But we can't find ourselves troubled by it. We can't find ourselves troubled by it. For this has to take place because it's fulfilling the prophecies. And we can't be troubled by it because the end is not yet. Even though we see this fighting and hear reports of this fighting, the end is not yet. Trust me. Trust him. What does he mean by this? Verse 7, for nation shall rise against nation, and reign against reign, kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be scarcity of food, and deadly diseases and earthquakes in places. So this is what's going to take place. There will be nations against nations. This is what we're witnessing now. There will be kingdoms against kingdom. This is what we're witnessing now. And there shall be scarcity of food, scarce of food. This is what we're witnessing now. Deadly diseases. This is what we're witnessing now. Earthquakes. This is what we're witnessing now. These are the prophecies playing out. Verse 8. And all these are the beginning of birth pains. So this is the beginning. Since we're witnessing all of this, know that this is the beginning. This is the beginning of the end. We're just in the beginning of it. Within the last 100 years, we've just been in the beginning of it. Within the last 200 years, we've just been in the beginning of it. Maybe within the last 500 years, who knows? I'm not. Let me not go too far. We're just in the beginning. I just know that. In 2 years, 200 years is nothing to the Most High. 200 years is nothing. This is just the beginning. The beginning of birth pains. The beginning of the end. Verse 9. Then they shall deliver you up to affliction and unalive you. And you shall be hated by all nations for my name's sake. Again, he's telling us that we will be hated by all nations for his name's sake. His name's sake. All nations doesn't hate you for you saying Jesus. All nations hate you for saying Yahushua or Yahusha. That's what most people hate. That's the name most people hate. Most people accept, even the people that don't agree with Jesus, they accept Jesus and even use Jesus. They don't hate it. Then they shall deliver you up to affliction and unalive you, and you shall be hated by all nations for my name's sake. Verse 10, and then many shall stumble. This is what's happening. This is what will be taking place. This is what once, now that we in the stages of nations against nation and reign against reign, and once that's passed, This is the next step. The next phase is that people who are people who use the name of Yahushua, his name, who use his name, they will be delivered up. They will be hated, and they will be delivered up to be unalived for using that name. And then many shall stumble, and they shall deliver up one another, and shall hate one another. So there will be bounties out to the point your own family will be delivering you up. Your own friends will be delivering you up for using this name. There will be bounties out for using the name. There will be bounties out for using the name, and you will be delivered up for it. You will be delivered up by your own people, your own family, your own friends. Verse 11. And many false prophets shall rise up and lead many astray. So then the next stage will people, many false prophets. This is when the false prophets will be coming in. We have those now, but you're going to have them at an all-time high. You're going to have them even more. You're going to have them even more, leading others astray, leading many astray. What's the next stage? Verse 12, and because of the increase in lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold. So it's going to be an increase of lawlessness. Like you got people breaking the law now and breaking man law, but you're going to have an increase of no one following no law, not even man law. You're going to be to a point no one's following no one's following the spiritual law of the spiritual government, the laws of God, let alone the laws of man. It's going to be to a point no one's following any law. And that's going to lead to many becoming cold. The love of many shall become cold. Like there's nothing for them to love. There's no one for them to love and nothing for them to love because everyone is lawless. And if you're lawless, that means you're treating others wrong. You're doing others wrong. And you're hurting others. You're not living on no law. So it's leading people to become cold, go cold. We're not in that stage yet. What's the next stage? Verse 13. But he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. Here we go again. You have to endure all of this. You have to endure hearts going cold and going through lawlessness. A world of lawlessness. Nations of lawlessness. Going through false prophets. You have to endure this. You have to endure your own family and friends trying to deliver you up. You have to endure this. You have to continue to follow his instructions and respect his name. Honor his name and his father's name. Continue to follow his father's instructions. Follow his examples. Follow the only begotten son's examples and his lessons and his demonstrations and his teachings. You have to continue to endure doing this to the end. But he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. It's not saved once, and you got to endure. You got to endure what we're going to have to go through, what we may have to go through in our time. Verse 14, and this good news of the reign shall be proclaimed in all the world as a witness to all the nations. And then the end shall come. So this good news, meaning this good news of the kingdom, meaning the kingdom coming, this record of it, this version of it in the book of Matthew, because this is the only place you're going to see this verse is in the book of Matthew. This version of it, the book of Matthew, clearly has to be proclaimed in all the world. This good news of the kingdom coming has to be proclaimed in all the world. Now you could just accept it as the good news, period. The good news of the kingdom coming has to be proclaimed in all the world. Then the end shall come. But I don't just look at it like that. I look at it like this version of the good news of the kingdom, meaning what was explained, all explained thoroughly in the book of Matthews, has to be proclaimed in all the world as a witness to all the nations. This version of Matthews, this version of the good news has to be proclaimed in all the world as a witness to all the nations. Then and only then, the end shall come. So until the book of Matthews is proclaimed in all the world to all the nations, the good news of in the book of Matthews of the kingdom coming and how we are to repent in order to enter, that it breaks down thoroughly, unmatched, unlike no other. This has to be proclaimed, and then the end shall come. Because this gives the world a fair chance to understand how to thoroughly repent and thoroughly follow instructions and thoroughly follow the examples, the teachings, and the lessons and demonstrations. This is a thorough documentary. This is a thorough record of that. The book of Matthews. Verse 15. So when you see the abomination that lays waste, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, set up in the set apart place, he who reads, let him understand. If you read the book of Daniel, you should understand. Verse 16, then let those who are in Yehuda flee to the mountains. So you're going to start seeing people in the area of Judah right now fleeing to the mountains. When you see that, you should know. Verse 17, let him who is on the housetops not come down to take whatever out of his house. Clearly, it's going to be so bad to where as though you're not able to come down from your housetop. Verse 18, and let him who is in the field not turn back to get his garments. Verse 19, and woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing children in those days. In those days, it's not going to be safe to nurse. It's not going to be safe to be pregnant. Verse 20, and pray that your flight does not take place in the winter or on the Sabbath. Like your flight to leave, to flee, does not take place in the winter on the Sabbath. Because you should be staying put on the Sabbath, and in winter is clearly cold. Verse 20, to not have any clothes to travel with. Verse 21, for then there shall be great distress. It's a key verse right here. For then there shall be great distress, such as has not been since the beginning of the world until this time. No, nor ever shall be. So there will be a great distress that the world has never experienced and won't experience again. There will be a great distress that the world has never experienced and will never experience again. We haven't come to that point. A distress that the world has never experienced before and never will again. So it'd be worse than any experience before. And there were bad experiences then. So that clearly hasn't come about. But this is the beginning. Verse 22. And if those days were not shortened, no flesh would be saved. But for the sake of the chosen ones, those days shall be shortened. So those days will be shortened. That day of distress will be shortened, meaning clearly the Most High will, the Messiah will intervene. The Most High in his only begotten Son will intervene in that when it's so distressed, when the world is so distressed by this day of distress, from this great distress. Because if he hadn't shortened it, no flesh will be saved. No flesh would be saved if he hadn't shortened it. But for the sake of the chosen ones, his spiritual children, for the sake of his spiritual children, those days shall be shortened. Verse 23, if anyone then says to you, look, here is the Messiah, or there, do not believe. This is what you're going to have. People claiming to be Messiah, claiming there's the Messiah. Verse 24, for false messiahs and false prophets shall arise, and they shall show great signs and wonders, so as to lead astray, if possible, even the chosen ones. So that's the goal of these false prophets and these false messiahs. To lead astray, if possible, the chosen one, his spirit, the spiritual children of God, his true taught ones, his true disciples, his true students. And with AI advancing and everything else, artificial technology advancing, yeah, that's a lot coming. Verse 25, see, I have forewarned you. So this is clearly his prophecy and his forewarning. This is why I call it the prophecy of the Mashiach, the Messiah. In the book of Matthew, chapter 24. See, I have forewarned you. Verse 26, so if they say to you, look, he is in the desert, do not go out. Or look, he is in the inner rooms, do not believe. Verse 27, for as the lightning comes from the east and shines to the west, so also shall the coming of the Son of Adam be. So he's going to be clearly seen like lightning is seen from one side of the sky to the other side of the sky. The Messiah is going to be clear, that his coming is going to be clearly seen in that sense. Just like we see lightning go from one end of the sky to the other end, that's how we're going to notify. That's how we're going to know the Messiah. Know the Messiah is coming. You have people who believe that Project something blew something, or something, artificial, some form of artificial intelligence will be able to pull that off. I don't think so. I think you'll know the difference. I don't believe they'll be able to do that. And for the sake of prophecy, for the sake of his words, for the sake of his prophecy, they won't be able to do that. They can do a lot, but they won't be able to do that. Verse 28, for whoever the dead body is, for wherever the dead body is, there the vultures shall be gathered together. Verse 29, and immediately after the distress of those days, so this is immediately after the distress. Let's keep in context. Immediately after this great distress of those days, meaning the day of wrath, day of judgment, day of the return of the Most High and his only begotten Son. And immediately after the distress of those days, that great distress that we never witnessed before, or the world has never witnessed before, immediately after that, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give its light, and the stars shall fall from the heavens, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Did we not read this in Isaiah? Isaiah 13, chapter 13. The powers of the heavens shall be shaken. This is immediately after the great distress that the world has never witnessed before. Verse 30, and then the sign of the son of Adam shall appear in the heavens, in the sky. And then all the tribes of the earth shall mourn. And they shall see the son of Adam coming on the clouds. And the heaven, and the heaven with, and the clouds of the heaven with power and much glory. So this will be seen by any and everybody from one end of the world and one end of the sky to the other end of the sky. And nations will mourn. The people gonna mourn because they're gonna know, whoa, this is different. It's over for us. It's over for everything. Verse 31, and he shall send his messengers with a great sound of a trumpet. So, yeah, his messengers with a great sound of the trumpet. And they shall gather together his chosen ones, the spiritual children of his father, his students, his disciples, his taught ones, his true taught ones, his true disciples, his true, yeah. They shall gather together his chosen ones, all of them, from the four corners, the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. Gather, be gathered. Verse 32, and learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know that the summer is near. Verse 33. So you also, when you see all these, meaning all that he covered in the prophecy from the beginning of the chapter 24, when you see all these, he broke it down in order. When you see all of this take place, when you see all these, know that he is near, at the door. Verse 34, truly I say to you, this generation shall by no means pass away until all this take place, meaning this people, this form of people, in writing and what we do, this generation of people in and how things are, as far as technology and how we operate and how we how we do community and everything else. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, basically this generation and how things are and how we see around us and how it wasn't that far from how it was in his time. This generation of people shall by no means pass away. Not this generation, but this generation of the way things are shall by no means pass away until all this takes place. Verse 35, the heaven and the earth shall pass away, but my word shall by no means pass away. This prophecy basically you're going to see the sun going dark. You're going to see the stars falling, and you're going to see the earth shaking out of its place, is what he means. But his words will remain. because this is what's going to continue on. Even when all that happens, because this he clearly says how that's going to happen. After that, it's going to take what he says after that is going to take place. So that's his words that's going to remain intact. So what he's saying and what he's saying now is and what is going to go how it's going to go down. This is what is going to go down. What happened after that? Verse 36, but concerning that day and the hour, no one knows, not even the messengers of the heavens, but my Father only. But my Father only. So his Father is the only one who knows. His messengers don't know. They don't know when they're going to be booting up. No so-called prophet knows. No so-called anything knows. Anybody knows. No so-called psychic know. None of that. They don't know. They don't know when this is going to happen. It says his Father only, so he may not even know. He may know, but I'm taking his word that he may not even know. Verse 37, and as the days of Noah, so also shall the coming of the son of Adam be. So it's going to be, that's how it's going to be when, verse 38, for as they were in the days before the flood, eating and drinking, marrying and giving in the marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark. Verse 39, and they did not know until the flood came and took them all away. It took them all away. So also shall the coming of the son of Adam be. Just like the days of Noah, the days of the flood. The last time the world was destroyed, the whole world was destroyed. People were marrying, people were drinking, eating, giving into marriage. Then two, verse 40, then two shall be in the field, the one is taken and the one is left. Verse 41, two women shall be grinding at the mill, one is taken and one is left. Verse 42, watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your master is coming. Verse 43, and now this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Verse 44, because of this, be ready too, for the Son of Adam is coming at an hour when you do not expect him. Verse 45, who then is a trustworthy and wise servant, whom his master set over his household, to give them food in season? Who is trustworthy? Who's a trustworthy wise servant? Meaning a spiritual child of his, meaning a disciple, the student, and a taught one of his, teaching his teachings. Who is a master set over his household to give them food in season. Verse 46, blessed is the servant whom his master, having come, shall find so doing. Sharing his teachings, sharing his examples. Find so doing, sharing his teachings. Find so doing, sharing his examples. Find so doing, sharing his lessons, his demonstrations, the instructions of his Father, the instructions of his on how to do it in the fashion of how he said to do it. Verse 47, truly I say to you that he shall set him over all his possessions. Verse 48, but if that evil servant says in his heart, my master is delaying his coming, and begins to beat his fellow servants, you start to act like you don't know, that you're a spiritual child of his, and you don't know his lessons, and then how he said to have compassion, have mercy, and forgive. Like you don't, like you beating people up for owing you something. Begins to beat his fellow servants and to eat and drink with the drunkards. Now you acting out, eating and drinking with drunkards. You start to act like that, and you act like you don't know. This is what he gonna catch you off guard. And this, it will be, man, it's gonna be so. Mind you, this is after all that we just went through. That people will be acting, marrying, and drinking, and having a good time, and this is clearly lawlessness and no hope, and people not having no hope, and led astray by these false prophets and false messiahs and everything. All temptation that is at an all-time high, and stress is at an all-time high. And he finds you just blending in, doing and trying to, relieve yourself. Let us be ready. Let us endure, Master. May we endure. The master of that servant shall come on a day when he does not expect it, and at an hour he does not know. Verse 51, and shall cut him in two, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. This is what's going to happen to even those who claim to be his taught ones, claim to be spiritual children of his father, claim to be his disciples, claim to be followers of his. Getting loose, get caught off guard, getting loose with the people, eating and drinking with the drunkards, and beating on their servants, people who work for them. This is what will happen to them. You're going to find yourself cut in two and appointed a portion with the hypocrites, where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. That was the end of chapter 24, the prophecies of the Mashiach. Matthew chapter 24. That was the end of Shabbat, the Shabbat Torah teachings of Yahushua HaMashiach in the book of Matthew. I pray you enjoyed. We do this. Y'all willing, we able to do this again next week. We do this every Shabbat, every week. Until next time, peace, love, Shabbat shalom, peace, and love.